It's Sunday and a fruitful NFL draft has occurred, but it means the time has got to begin now to start the work for 2025. We're going to try to draft some winners, a lot of which are going to take place on Drafters, a site that's opening up before everybody else today. Get you your shot at winning some big money. I am, of course, already in a draft room here today, and the goal is going to be draft a team here on Drafters where there are no pods, total points for the entire season, and the earliest opening tournament with $2.5 million of first places here. Let's actually look at the prize structure. We're also going to talk about the winners and losers in terms of how I view things post-NFL draft. Lots to catch up on here. At $500K to first place, $200K to second place, $100K to third place. I'm going to say it out loud here, and of course, presenting the stream in partnership with Drafters, so do give them all of your love if you can. Wait, there we go. That's the right promo code. Go check out Drafters. You use promo code SPLASH on there for $100 deposit match, so excited to be working with them more this year here in 2025. But also for me, I did really have it as a focus for myself in terms of trying to do the things we talk about on the channel, making your money and gambling go further. For Drafters, for me, a couple years ago, I guess 2 years ago, finished top 100 in the Drafters Million Tournament, had a nice payday from that. This past year, finished top 15, technically top 12 in the Drafters playoff contest, won another couple grand from that. I would like to put more time and money and effort into Drafters overall, so it's going to be part of what we're doing here on stream this year. In addition, Drafters will also be supporting me as I do drafts on Underdog, on DraftKings this year, show you guys more of the best ball landscape. So Drafters is a key part of what we're doing here, and of course, you could draft with me in this tournament with $500K to first place right now if you want. And get in here, use that promo code SPLASH. We'll start going when we can. Shout out to the chats as well. Appreciate this. Our good friend here, Ross Robert Griffin III. Spags streams, we cream. I hope so. We got a stopwatch going. We got the period going. But a few weeks away from me here. Unfortunately, not a lot I want to talk about publicly with the situation there. There's going to be some legal stuff falling out. But basically, you're going to see me doing the same work here. The good news for you guys this year is that there's going to be less of a sycophantic approach towards Underdog here, like I think has been engendered for various reasons, which I'm not going to talk about anymore. But basically, this year, I'm approaching these drafts like I'm just a customer on these platforms. I'm not trying to shill you on stuff. Obviously, Drafters is supporting the channel, so if you want to get on there, it is a great way to support the show using that promo code SPLASH at Drafters. But my goal this year, and part of what I wanted to partner with Drafters on, and frankly, was hoping to do this year, no matter who I was working with, was trying to just show like what an actual draft process is, doing more DraftKings, even though DraftKings doesn't really support us doing streams the same way that Underdog has, paying people to do streams, giving them play credits and all that. I want to try to do more what the actual drafting experience is and trying to make sure I'm taking actual looks here at what we're trying to accomplish. And I'm trying to find my, here we go. Here you can see my results from playoff best ball last year. Should get in this draft room if we can. But anyway, that's the update for 2025. So that's what we're looking at here. I also will appreciate if you guys are watching this one, hit the like button, subscribe. It's going to be a haul here because I'm going to deal with the haters for probably the rest of the summer. I think so. It's going to go. People are going to dislike every video. It is the way it is right now. But show us some love if you can. Hit the like button, subscribe. And our draft is starting. So there we go. GM, glad to see our guy Matthew back in here. Shout out Nolan for the super chat. Appreciate that. Shout out LeBron, Curry, and Spags. Yes, all three greats of their period. We already talked NFL draft winners and losers, though. Let's start that process while we're waiting for our pick to come up here in the 5-hole. And excited to be drafting as well. Got our guy Al Boogie in this room. Anybody else I recognize? No, I think that's it. Clarence Worley's name sounds familiar, but Al Boogie in here. We'll see what these guys do in this draft room. Let's go team by team, though, in alphabetical order, talk about how I'm feeling post-NFL draft. Let's start with the Cardinals, Arizona here. I'm going to try to keep an eye on a separate tab from our drafters pick coming up. For Arizona, no offensive players of note taken, no skill position guys. I think it's wheels up for James Conner and Trey Benson in that backfield. Unfortunately, wheels up for Michael Wilson as the wide receiver behind Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride. Most of you are going to want Harrison McBride. That hasn't changed here. Arizona added nobody of consequence here, in particular in the RB room, which I think is a positive for Benson, who looked pretty good last year, better than I would have thought he would based on how he played at FSU. Looked pretty strong to start. So James Conner going to get that bell cow workload most likely, but Benson, they've said in the course of the spring so far, they want to get some more of a 50-50 timeshare with Benson and Conner. So we'll see if that happens this year. Next team up, we got Atlanta. So Atlanta added also nobody here. So getting wheels up for the guys we know of in Atlanta. We've seen the receiving core there start to look a bit better with Michael Penix. RBs as well, Bijan and Algier not being upset by somebody else, in particular Algier, who could come in and do a similar thing to what he does. But for Atlanta here, running the same team back, Kirk Cousins showing up in OTAs so far. So Atlanta, exactly what we're expecting from last year with a bit of a different QB situation up top. Was a Connor bitch last year, pivoting to Benson this year? I would get shares of both. I mean, they clearly trusted Connor a lot last year. I would expect them to start to try to get Benson in the mix more, but there's no guarantee that's going to be the case. Next team up, we got Baltimore, and I am keeping an eye on drafters at the same time, so bear with me as I try to keep it all aligned here. For Baltimore, the only player of consequence on offense they picked was LeJohntay Wester. He's not a guy that graded out too well in terms of my numbers, didn't really earn targets that much, only a 20% rate. I'm trying to pull up the Google sheet here in real time as well. Because I did have to look at a lot of guys who are frankly not on my big board, not a lot of people's big boards out there. I did have a high EPA per target, did LeJohntay Wester, 0.55 EPA per target thrown his way. Mostly played out of the slot with that 0.55 EPA as well. Barely got any targets out wide at all throughout the course of the season. Good under 10 air yards, good 10 to 20 air yards. Not really a dude I expect to have much consequence. So that's how we're looking at right now for LeJohntay Wester. Let's make a pick here on drafters. We got Jahmyr Gibbs, CeeDee Lamb, nobody coming into the Cowboys at all to upset what he's got going. Malik Neighbors coming up on drafters with a 7.6 ADP ahead of actually Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like Gibbs enough. I'll take the shot at Gibbs here, trying to be less zero RB didactic as I have been in previous years, certainly. We learned the lessons last year. RB is going to be as valid up top as long as our RBs that we think are in good situations going to dominate the end zone equity, the touchdown equity for the team. Jahmyr Gibbs is one of those guys, and it's hard to imagine him not gaining more like a 75-25 share this year for David Montgomery. We'll see how it goes. Shout out Charles here. Appreciate all you guys watching live right after the fact. And again, show some love if you can. Hit the like button, subscribe. We'll be dealing with people who just misunderstood the situation last time out where if you're catching up, I was threatened by a dude on Twitter who listed my location. I responded by listing his city of 50,000 people. Apparently that counts as doxing in some people's minds out there. But really, ultimately, the thing is here is I just want to show up and do the work, focus on my gambling here, getting out good takes for you guys. I don't want to focus on idiots who need attention. So that's really my goal of the rest of the draft cycle here. And I took a few weeks off to kind of get my mind right with it. Frankly, just wasn't feeling energized to draft. But now that we're post-draft here, now that things are frankly looking a little more solidified with our friends at Drafters, a little more locked in and ready to go, which was always my goal here. You got to be able to ramp yourself up and down, whether you're somebody like me who has to deal with nonsense as a content creator, or if you're yourself out there and you just get fatigued of drafting so many teams. I think it's an important part of gambling that we don't talk enough about. Let's keep going team by team, though. We got Buffalo. So Buffalo, the big surprise for me, not adding an RB of note when you do have a looming holdout for James Cook coming up. He's already put his house on the line there, house up for sale in the Buffalo area. I don't think he's actually going to go away from Buffalo, but he does want to get paid based on what the reports were early in the offseason, $13 million a year. Would say at this point that for James Cook, I think he'll find the middle ground at some point, but it might be an ugly holdout, might be a long one. So at least for Buffalo, they're not full leveraging against him and trying to make him not, be afraid, I guess, of that situation. So for Buffalo here, not adding an RB, a good sign for him. Only wide receiver they added, only guy of note, I guess Jackson Hawes, technically a tight end being added might matter. I would assume that's more of a blocking thing though with Knox and Kincaid there. Not that Knox is also not a blocking player at this point. Caden Prather, though, is a wide receiver they added. Doesn't really seem like anything special to me in my numbers. Prather had a 21% target route run rate. When it's that low, it's not really what we're looking for. Also a 0.001 EPA per target, which is basically as bad as you can get as well. We're talking a little bit above average there. So Prather, to me, not somebody I'm worried about. The fact they've added other guys, a receiver, your Josh Palmer's in particular, that's the stuff I'm more curious about. And frankly, I think as well, Keon Coleman in a good situation for Buffalo as well, because I doubt that Prather is the kind of guy that's going to come for his workload. Prather last year played primarily out wide, 6.5 targets a game out wide, but a negative 0.06 EPA per target is not the kind of player I'm expecting is going to be appreciably better than Keon Coleman. We got a pick coming up here, so let's see what we got. Shout out Jason, appreciate the con chat here. Glad to have you back in the streets. I appreciate you being here with me on a Sunday afternoon, guys. Thanks for watching. Drafters doesn't work in Mississippi. Just did one a few ago. Okay. Well, sorry to hear it doesn't work in Mississippi. Hopefully they'll get added in more states. But it is one thing I will say, Drafters, at least currently, does work in New York State. So if you are one of our friends who's currently blocked out by Underdog right now, not doing what they're supposed to do in that state, you can go on Drafters and play on there as well. And, hey, look, good tournaments on a lot of different sites. We're going to be covering every site this year. So I'm going to try to be certainly as fair and balanced as I possibly can be on here. Trey McBride, Jonathan Taylor here. McBride's ADP's come up a good amount from where he started in the big board and Underdog. I like McBride a lot, like Bucky Irving a lot, but we got an RB already. I think we're going to go Trey McBride here. Again, nobody being added to pick up the toy for the dog. Excuse me. We do have also my puppy, who I think we've seen on Splash Play on the NFL channel yet. Here's Kitty the dog. Oh, thank you for kisses. Thank you for kisses. Here's my little girl here because Luca and Alex in New York for the weekend. So I am just on puppy duty, which is how I was able to do the stream today. So good news. And Kitty being supportive here, just destroying a pillow, a baby pillow that was Luca's that he no longer needs. Right next to me here. Ty Johnson feels like an awesome late round flyer or last round flyer. Ray Davis also fun. Those guys are going to certainly move up if Cook's holdout increases throughout the course of the summer. If it does go on longer, I think it will. Cook thinks he's worth a lot of money. I don't think he is worth that much money. I think the team probably doesn't think he's worth that much money. So I think Ray Davis and Ty Johnson both perfectly valid, especially in 20-round formats like we have here on Drafters. But I think for underdog too, 18th round would be fine. So back to the team by team, we got Buffalo here. We talked about them already. Pray they're really your biggest addition. The tight end stuff doesn't really matter too much to me. There may be a little bit of indoctrination of Dalton Caden, how he played last year. Ted McMillan to Carolina. I like this move a lot. Carolina needed a true alpha receiver. Rolling out there with a ton of targets going Adam Thielen's way wasn't the way you'd want to see things go for too long overall. For Ted McMillan, I like the numbers. He was a big target earner overall. So I'm a big fan of Ted McMillan, big fan of Carolina and what they've been doing and developing so far. Adding Trevor Etienne, a little bit less intrigued by, but we can talk about that in a minute here. DJ Moore getting some FUD from Ben Johnson so far. Seems like as well the routes we've seen DJ Moore get in the past could be something that goes to their new pick, Luther Burden, a little bit more. Frankly, adding Colston Loveland as well for the Bears, not a great thing for DJ Moore, who really needs to be commanding a high target rate overall for himself to hit his upside. I don't love some of the whispers around DJ Moore, but we need to get a first receiver in here. Maybe could have gone for Marvin Harrison instead, but I'll take DJ Moore and I guess buy against the FUD for right now. But for the rest of Carolina, though, again, Trevor Etienne being drafted in the 4th round. When you also add another player at RB this year with them, what the fuck is the adding Rico Dowdle? God, I'm struggling for Rico Dowdle's name. As I think probably the Panthers are as well. When you have Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle, you're adding Etienne in. Etienne was also a guy who didn't show a ton of juice at Georgia. I think he'll be okay getting volume, but the avoided tackle rate for him was not that great in Georgia last year. Was really one of the metrics we're looking at here that's going to be sticky for the most part, going from college to the pros. Etienne had, where are you at, Trevor? 22% avoided tackle rate. Expect that to be like 10 to 15% max when he's getting to the pros. 17% stuffed run rate, 0.09 EPA per rush, 0.12 EPA per target's not that bad. He was negative EPA per rush against an 8-man box. Etienne really just not a dude, not as good as his brother even at this point. Not crazy about the Trevor Etienne addition here, just muddying things up a little bit more with a 4th round pick. But it's been pretty clear. I think that Carolina wants to really, force themselves to have the best players at each position competing. It's been the case with Bryce Young. They did this year where he had to beat out Andy Dalton. Then he secured his role. Now he's seemingly locked into being QB1 with Dalton coming back as QB2. At RB, I think it's the same principle as well with Chuba. You're providing some lever against Jonathan Brooks. Now Brooks is out likely for the year. You have Chuba, you have Dowdle, you have Etienne coming in. Competitive spot where you could probably go to all those guys to some extent at the relative ADPs. But I think it's really, to me, more of like Chuba versus Dowdle for who's going to get the most work there. I think Dowdle is better than people realize. You're going for Dallas last year, a team that really should not be able to have a 100-yard rusher down the home stretch. But, for Chuba, he played well enough, getting a ton of volume for Carolina. So clearly some trust is there. I think none of that's good for Etienne, but Etienne's not good for those guys either. It's a bit of a weird scene. We got an RB, a wide receiver, a tight end with Gibbs, Moore, and McBride here. If I had taken McLaurin last time out, Jaden being here would have looked a little bit better. Frankly, Jaden being here, I think still looks okay. Really nothing of note being added for Washington in terms of the wide receiver core. They added Lane, not really a player I'm too, well, let's save it for when we get there, but I'm not really crazy about what Washington's done this offseason. I think you add Debo. It's your big hope that he's going to add value. I think he gets volume no matter what. I feel like they could have added a little bit more at RB instead of a last round pick. They could have added a little bit more at receiver. Frankly, if they're not sure about Senate, could have added more at tight end this draft. I don't know. See how Washington goes. Carolina going to run the wing T like my high school did, which we ran a great success here, not throwing the ball to me. And instead letting our athletic running back who ended up playing at Dartmouth and running track for Nigeria. Not at an Olympic level, but he got close. That was what we ran in high school. So yes, the wing T very much in play here if you don't want to trust your QB, but they want to trust Bryce Young. So I think the running game not going to be the full focus for Carolina no matter what. Bears add Colston Loveland over Tyler Warren, which surprised me a lot. They also take Luther Burden with the 2nd pick. Again, really do think that Burden is leverage against DJ Moore being mercurial, maybe not being the leader that he should have been last year. I think Luther Burden is in a good spot here to get the ball in effective screens, get the ball in spots that are going to help him succeed. And I think more than anything, he really is a lever against DJ Moore if he somehow forces his way out of town or if they want to move away from him at some point in the summer because he's not doing what he's supposed to do. Burden, and he got the big contract, so that might be harder to do than off the top of my head, it would seem. But I think for Luther Burden here, strong play now, looks a little bit better. His ADP is probably still too high. Where is he at on drafters? 96.2 ADP. That's probably fair. It's probably fair. All right. What time does BBM 6 start? Probably sometime tomorrow afternoon, if I had to guess. Maybe they'll get it up earlier now that Drafters has their up because these sites are very competitive against each other. I don't know, but I'm playing on Drafters. That's all I know. So again, use that promo code SPLASH at Drafters, $100 deposit match on there. And again, they're my presenting sponsor for the channel this entire summer. So you're going to hear a lot about Drafters. You're going to see me draft a lot on Drafters. The best thing I can give you guys is I made the most money on Drafters with frankly the least amount of effort. I think that does matter this day and age. So that's my cosign for you guys here. We got Chris Godwin here, who I do like, though certainly adding more bodies in Tampa Bay with Egbuka. Not a positive thing for him. Egbuka should really be playing out of the slot primarily. Odunze here to pair with Moore feels pretty good. We also have the better QB than Caleb on top, theoretically, with Jaden Daniels. So I'm going to go with Odunze. We'll go Chicago double stack. Jaden Daniels, Jahmyr Gibbs, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze. Trey McBride is our start here, which I feel pretty good about. Hi, Dylan. Glad to see you here. My stats are college careers. Do I have the ability to separate numbers versus good? You're splitting hairs too much. College players play, 10, 11 games in a year. You already have a small enough sample size there. We start to split the sample size even further. You're going to make it harder for yourself to actually know who's good and who isn't. So, no, I don't look at that, but mostly is going to come out in the wash. I certainly, in my head, grade things a little bit more. Like if they played SEC competition, I'm holding that a little bit more esteem. One example would be Jalen Royals, who got the nice landing spot going to KC as their perhaps Rashee Rice fill-in / if things get weird, maybe a replacement. But he's a guy playing at Utah State. It's I don't think his stats that were pretty good, his RAS score, which is also pretty good, I don't think it carried him as far as some other guys like Burden who played tougher competition. So it's all part of the balance of things, but stats are stats. But certainly if you have your Dylan Wabe is putting up a ton of stats at University of New Hampshire, you should probably downgrade that a little bit because it's not the same as putting up those stats versus even a Florida, let alone a Bama, Georgia, those kind of teams. Ohio State, Michigan, whoever you want to have that's a good college team. Back to the draft team. We're going to go look at the board in a moment. So for Chicago here, Loveland, Burden. They do add Kyle Monangai from Rutgers later on. Really doesn't feel like a player I'm too worried about. 22% avoided tackle rate for him, 0.04 EPA per rush, a negative EPA per target, negative 0.1 EPA per target. Nothing special to me. He did get a lot of red zone volume last year for a Rutgers team that doesn't matter very much. But I think for Monangai, just kind of a body there. And as a Bears fan, I really want an RB. Roschon, a big winner. I think Roschon's a winner. They still could do something. There's still going to be guys that get cut over the summer. They can move a different way, I think, for sure, for Chicago. But not adding any of the RBs in the class, certainly a positive. I feel like them taking a Caleb Johnson type Scattaboo would have really been bad for everybody involved. And I'm honestly surprised too. Really didn't get the vibes they're high on Swift based on some of the coach speak so far. Let's look at Cincinnati. Well, we got a pick coming up. Let's look at Cincinnati because they didn't do anything anyway. Cincinnati added Taj Brooks late. Nobody else who matters at wide receiver. So maybe signs of life for Jermaine Burton, who should be playing his way out of the league potentially, but he's still going to be in the mix if they don't add anybody of note. They do still have Yoshevitz there. They have other guys who are developing as well. But the Bengals' remaining receivers at this point, I think, looking pretty good as incumbents. The Bengals not adding more at that skill position. Chris Olave, Debo here. Sam Laporta. I think with the Daniel stack, we're going to go Debo. Certainly prefer McLaurin, though I do think Debo's going to get a lot of easy screen-type targets for Cliff Kingsbury this year. I think he's sort of the perfect player to add to Washington, even though I'd really like a game breaker. Would have liked them to have taken a Trey Harris and treat him as a better version of a Noah Brown. That didn't happen. They took Debo. They took nothing else of note. So we'll go Debo with our Jaden Daniels stack. The team so far, Jaden Gibbs, DJ Moore, Odunze, Debo Samuel, Trey McBride. I like that start. Certainly got to keep balancing the team out a little bit more as we go, but I'm happy with it. Yes, it is Sunday, so we're having some golden monkeys here. I feel like it's been drinking beer the entire weekend. I feel like whenever the family's out of town, I don't know if I'm just a stereotypical dad in that way, but I'm just just drink a lot of beer. Call it a weekend. The highlight of the weekend. So Cincinnati, nothing being added of note here. Taj Brooks, to me, not even a guy who was really on the radar. 16% avoided tackle rate, 15% stuffed run rate. If your avoided tackle rate is the same as your stuffed run rate, you're not really a guy I'm too worried about. I think it's been a good offseason for Chase Brown, good offseason for him with only adding Pirine behind him, now adding Taj Brooks. So nobody I'm not worried about. Brooks, though, much like Chase Brown, got a lot of volume in college, 29 touches a game from his team. So maybe Brooks can take more volume on, but the talent's not really there to justify it. Waiting for another pick. Got 2 more picks in 4 hours. Cleveland up next. So Cleveland, one of the weirder drafts. So they add Judkins in the 2nd round. They had Harold Fannin in the 3rd round. We like Harold Fannin a lot. They're having Njoku now blocking his way is not great. Having the QBs they're going to have also not great for Fannin. They add Dylan Gabriel. They also add on Dylan Sampson on top. A guy who went much later than I think a lot of people out there talking about best ball, talking about draft prognostications. And Shador, of course, they trade up to get as well for that 5th round pick. So weird scene for Cleveland. I don't think you want to draft any of the QBs. I think Judkins and / Sampson are going to displace Jerome Ford. It's not a great scene overall. But let's make our pick. We'll talk more about it. Tony Pollard here still feels like the same play. Aaron Jones still feels like the same play he was. Shakir, I have no issue with. And frankly, it's looking better for Pollard on Tennessee now. Tennessee did a lot to improve that offense. Cam Ward, I'm a big believer on if you haven't watched the streams this offseason. So I think Tennessee looks a lot better with what they've done. I think Pollard being added here to this team feels pretty good. Let's see. Soaked a lot of weed. There we go. And Cleveland was on auto draft. Yeah, the star method, I think, was one of the jokes that maybe Pete made. But yeah, for Cleveland, look, they added players for sure. They made the D-line better theoretically. That's a positive. But yeah, the RBs, I don't know how you suss it out. I don't think Judkins' ADP is that great. I'm not the biggest believer in Judkins either. Guys who don't miss tackles are really not my favorite players. And guys who also didn't get a ton of volume in college, not my favorite players. Judkins is getting like under 15 touches a game. So I know he flashed in the CFP. People will probably hold that in a lot of esteem. But Judkins, to me, I'm not sold as much, especially when they are adding Sampson later on. And you still have Ford, who the coaching staff might trust more than it seems. Dallas, awful draft here. Jaden Blue, though, I think it's kind of wheels up for. They do add Phil Mafah, who was not on any radar I'm aware of. In the 7th round, you obviously do have Miles Sanders there. You do have Javonte Williams there. You have Deuce Vaughn there for as little as that matters, no pun intended. Nothing at receiver being added, though. So Tolbert being locked in the wide receiver 2 role feels good. Having the usual cast of characters behind him, Turbin in particular, maybe having some more upside in best balls around 18, around 20 pick. I think that's certainly in play as well. But not an impressive situation for Dallas at receiver. Adding Jaden Blue, though, he's got juice. He's a fast guy. He also maybe not a great avoided tackle rate guy at 19%, 16% stuffed run rate. EPA of only 0.001 per rush as well, not the best. In the pass game, he should be pretty good. Had a 31% target per route run rate, 0.16 EPA per reception. It's actually good versus an 8-man box as well, which surprised me for a guy who's not the biggest, but a 0.34 EPA versus 8-man boxes. So I think Jaden Blue is a guy for Dallas you could sort of hold in some esteem now and feel pretty good about. He's got more juice than Javonte. He's got more juice than Miles Sanders. It is going to be a regressive, run forward West Coast offense for Schottenheimer and co, though. So I don't know if Jaden Blue is going to be the perfect 3-down back to be out there over a Sanders, over a Javonte, but he's got more juice than both of them. So I think Jaden Blue picked to start mixing in, and I would still be willing to take Javonte, at his price. Miles Sanders probably less so. Dallas, though, just not a team I trust. Kyle Williams went 125. Well, I was never the biggest Kyle Williams guy. I guess he got an okay landing spot, but I'm not crazy about any Vrabel stuff going on. We're on the clock here, though. Jaylen Warren getting Caleb Johnson coming in, not a good thing for him. We could take Kyler Murray here, who supposedly wants to run more after he kind of ramped down his running last season. Apparently, he's aware of it. That could be fun. We do have the Chicago double, though, as well. But honestly, getting Washington, getting Kyler here, making it so we're not relying on Caleb Williams as much could be appealing. I have no issue with Caleb Williams, but I'm going to take Kyler Murray here, pair him with McBride. So we got Jaden Daniels, Kyler Murray, a combo I liked a lot last year. Frankly, the Daniels side of it paid off a lot better than Murray's side. Getting McBride here stacked up, though, I'm okay with this. And yeah, 3 lovely stacks. So we have the Chicago stack without the QB, have 2 QBs that could beat out Chicago's QB. We do have a hero RB with Gibbs. Got to make it up at receiver a little bit, but I'm okay with the start. Let's keep going through teams. So Dallas, to me, Jaden Blue, the one that stands out. Lack of receivers also stands out. And Phil Mafah, I don't think is actually a guy. Denver. So RJ Harvey's the big one to talk about here. I was talking about it in the Discord yesterday, but basically he grades out a lot to me like Audric Estime did. Audric Estime had a slightly better avoided tackle rate. Harvey, though, a better, more of a freak athlete overall. Estime played better competition than Harvey at UCF as well. But I think these guys are going to be kind of similar players. Harvey, though, getting the draft capital coming in, you have deliberate will to get him at the 2nd round, I think matters the most. So I think it's a good spot for Harvey. I think that Estime is not dead. I think that McLaughlin's not dead either, because I'm not sure that Harvey's going to hold up in pass protection, at least right away. I think Harvey's a good pick. I think he's going to get steamed up a little bit too much, but I'm in on him. Pat Bryant being out of receiver, kind of I would think the lesser player of him and Ty Felton, but I believe he went ahead of Ty Felton. Pat Bryant, not really anybody who wowed me in terms of the pre-draft stuff. Let me go to his numbers real fast. 27% target route run rate, okay. EPA of 0.57, really good. Didn't run a good 40 time, though, at a 4.6. So, honestly, kind of seems like a Cortland Sutton type, maybe a slightly less athletic, a Cortland Sutton type, as opposed to a Troy Franklin or a Marvin Mims. So, different receiver for sure. Maybe more of a Vele, honestly, than those guys. But Pat Bryant going here, RJ Harvey going in. These are guys that are now draftable to me. And Harvey, I think, is going to get steamed up a lot. I think people kind of hyped him up a little bit more pre-draft. And now that he went somewhere with second-round draft capital, technically one of the higher draft capitals at RB in the draft, Harvey's probably going to be a wheels-up player ADP-wise. Seattle seems fun. Seattle made some additions. I think the not fun part of Seattle overall is that you have Sam Darnold, with injury guarantees that could result in him not being played. I also don't really think that Milroe and Darnold are similar enough players that you should want to get those guys on the same team. But again, they added talent for sure. We got 2 QBs, 2 RBs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end. Christian Kirk here would feel fine. Definitely a fall for Tyrone Tracy. I think Scattaboo might have more juice than Tyrone Tracy. But I'm going to go Christian Kirk here. PPR site. Kirk clearly going to be one of the better weapons for Houston at this point. We'll talk about them in a moment here. But Christian Kirk, I think, a strong play, and happy to get him, especially in full point PPR. We got Detroit coming up next. So Detroit had one of the weirder ads here. Isaac Tesla, I don't know what makes him worth picking at all, to be totally honest. He didn't earn targets well enough to make my list. He's pretty well produced EPA wise. The 0.57, actually, no, it's the wrong guy. Never mind. It's actually Pat Bryant. He had a 0.87 EPA per slot target, but he only got targets in the slot enough to qualify in Sports Info Solutions data. So I'm not sold that Tesla's like a dude that actually matters. And it's a little bit odd that you're going to have a slot forward guy playing when you have Amon-Ra St. Brown as one of the premier slots in the league. I don't get it. Obviously, Detroit's going to be going through some changes here, losing the coaching staff overall and the coordinator levels. But I don't know why they took Tesla over a lot of guys that they could have taken instead. Clearly, they know what they're doing. So I don't know. He could just be a great blocker, honestly. I think I've seen some people on social media post that. But I'm baffled by the fit. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy you'd put in there when you have an Amon-Ra. So I don't really get what they're doing. Dominic Lovett. He wasn't even on my radar because he wasn't on any of the big boards out there. Let's see if we can just put him in real fast. Dominic Lovett. 27% target per out run, 0.06 EPA per target. Decent red zone work, 0.6 EPA there, and 1 red zone target a game. I don't know, nothing special to me that I'm seeing with Lovett. But Detroit, sharp team, so those guys you could draft if you want. I certainly wouldn't steam them up, though, or anything like that. 7 picks away on drafters. Let's keep going through teams. Green Bay. So Matthew Golden goes here. Matthew Golden, his issue is that he didn't get targeted a lot in college. Only a 20% target per out run rate. He was crazy efficient, though, when he did get targeted. Had a 0.53 EPA per target, 18% touchdown rate. Went off in the college football playoff as well. I don't think he's a crazy target earner, but I think he's actually a perfect swap for Christian Watson. Would you want to take Christian Watson where Matthew Golden's been going? I think that's sort of the question you'd have to ask yourself. Golden went in this draft. Where did he go? He's got an 82 ADP, and he went pick 78. I don't know that I think Matthew Golden should be coming up in ADP for the landing spot, but I do think he should keep Wicks and Dobbs' price tags in check. I think those guys are still very valid picks, but Green Bay added a lot of guys that I feel like are not sure things. Golden, to me, is kind of like the outside receiver equivalent of Jaden Reed, where he's not really a guy that's going to be out there getting a ton of targets, but when he does get targets, he's probably going to make them pay off. A little bit of a worthy-ish thing, which is an easy comp to make given that they're both Texas guys. But Golden, I think, got a good landing spot. The issue for him is you bring in Savion Williams, the third rounder as well. That's a lot of snaps to be mixing in here. So Dobbs and Wicks going to stay cheap. I think those guys are I would say, front runners to keep good roles. Savion Williams, though, absolutely coming for Dobbs' role / Wicks' role. He's a pure outside big body receiver. I think reminds me a lot of Dobbs, actually. He didn't show a lot in college, but he's big enough. If he makes a connection with Love, it could matter. Green Bay has really muddied up that receiving core even more. And I think Golden just treat him as a one-to-one for Christian Watson is probably your best thing. But you're paying, ceiling Christian Watson price tags with how he'd be treated heading into this year for sure. We got a pick coming up here. Ramondre falling a little bit. Purdy still here. McMillan still here. Warren going to Indianapolis. Not a play we love. New Orleans adding Tyler Show, whatever the fuck his name is. Not really a guy I like very much being added there. I'm going to go Ramondre here. I feel like for New England, adding Travion, not good, but Travion is not the same kind of back as Ramondre. And I think Ramondre could still end up getting the power back work there. Travion, the only back that New England added as well. So I'll take the shot on Ramondre here. I get why he's falling, though, and that might have been kind of a bad click, I guess, relative to where the ADPs are going to be. Let's keep going game by game, then. Shouts to the chat. We got our guy Bindles here. We got TX Politics here. We got Chunk the Deuce here. Appreciate all you guys hanging out. And, of course, hit the like button, subscribe. Again, I'm going to be dealing with the haters for probably the next couple weeks till they get bored, move on to something else to go bandwagon against. So your support goes a long way here if you want to see me keep doing the work. No matter what, thanks to Drafters, I'm going to keep doing the work now for the summer. But appreciate you guys showing some love if you can. Subscribe, hit the like button, and come play on Drafters. Probably going to hit one more draft after this one, because I've got a second beer here, and we still got to talk through all the teams. So come play with me on Drafters. Use the promo code SPLASH. Full screen version too. $100 deposit match on Drafters. Link down below, or use the promo code SPLASH on drafters.com or on the Drafters app. And it is a good app as well. Notifications have not gotten worse like some other apps out there. All right, back to the team by team view. Green Bay. So Green Bay muddied up at receiver. I think for Robert Griffin III here, fair point. Feels like you want to triple up Love, any position, not just receiver. I think it's tough because to guess where the spike weeks are going to come is really not going to be the most obvious thing. Reed to me, too expensive. Golden to me, too expensive. These guys should all be, especially given how, Green Bay ideally would like to ping pong spike weeks. Those guys should all be a lot cheaper, I think. Jaden Higgins coming in. So Higgins-Smee, the irony. He goes to the team that Xavier Hutchinson is on. Higgins-Smee coming from Iowa State, much like Hutchinson did. Looks a lot like a more athletic version of Hutchinson based upon how the numbers look for these guys in college. Higgins commanded targets at an okay clip. He was at 32% target per out run, 0.3 ADPA per target. Your kind of most obvious target here, I think I might have missed a pick too on Drafters. We took Jalen McMillan. That's my bad. Trying to make sure that I get all the NFL draft winner and loser stuff out. And we took Jalen McMillan here as wide receiver 5. I still like Jalen McMillan, so I can live with that, but would that have been my click no matter what? Honestly, probably would have been my click no matter what. So Jalen McMillan, come on down. Definitely getting squeezed theoretically by Igbukah. If I had to guess, though, for Tampa Bay, and I know I'm jumping around here a lot, but bear with me. I'm trying to do two things at once. For McMillan here, I think he's more your Mike Evans backup. I would think that Igbukah is just purely a slot guy with how he played at OSU. I think he's more your Godwin backup. I think these guys are all going to get in the mix of some amount. But I do think McMillan, to me, still has an obvious role. He's probably playing in 3 receiver sets. Igbukah playing out wide, I just don't think is where he should naturally end up, but we'll see. And we back to, thank you for the kisses, Kitty. I appreciate it. Back to Houston here. So Higgins, I think, looking pretty good overall. He's got some Nico to his game, looks pretty good. The issue is they also brought in Jalen Noel, who's another burner. Should be playing out slot. Well, I guess he did play mostly in the slot in college. 6 targets a game in the slot. Didn't qualify out wide. Higgins had 6 targets a game out wide, 4 targets and change in the slot. So I think you would expect to be able to move Higgins around more. Higgins, to me, though, more of just a deep kind of air yards merchant guy. Noel got 110 air yards a game, turned him into 85 actual yards per game. He's faster in a slot target. I think that Noel is more likely going to be your rotating with Christian Kirk guy, and that Higgins will be the one who's playing some wide receiver 3, maybe your Nico Collins handcuff. Both guys are probably going to get drafted a little bit too highly now. I think Higgins is pretty good, but like you have Nico there. That's a really obvious wide receiver 1 who's going to take a lot of targets. I like what Houston's doing, giving more weapons for sure. I don't like Woody Marks as much at RB. Really was just a dude for USC. He's basically kind of like a Mixon. Not going to avoid tackles very much, not going to add a ton of value, but he can maybe do something passable with volume. Not impressed with what they did at RB. Added a lot of guys at receiver that I think make it ugly. And Luke Lachey was a guy that for some reason underdog in the big board had really high in ADP. He's not really an NFL level talent. I don't think him being taken matters too much. Pick him up here and shout out Matthew. Team is fire. I appreciate it. And the boys are buzzing and drafting. I hope so. I hope we're buzzing. Definitely drafting. I haven't drank a lot of my beer, so I'm not buzzing enough. We got Jerome Ford falling here. Isaiah Likely looking okay. Keenan Allen doesn't have a landing spot yet. Quentin Johnson has to come down for Trey Harris. Trey Harris is a better version of what Quentin Johnson does outside. I think that's a really bad scene for him. Trey Harris coming in. I'm going to take Isaiah Likely here. I think I could get away with taking Tyjae Spears as well, but we'll stick with Likely, get our second tight end here, and hope maybe some world where Mark Andrews moves on. Now it's post-NFL draft, though. I don't think that's the most likely. Back to the team-by-team view. So we talked about Tyler Warren. I don't love that addition here. You already have AR having a tough time / Daniel Jones going to have a tough time too, feeding as many targets as they have. Now you add another intermediate target who should be being used like a Brock Bowers, getting short targets or running after the catch and making stuff happen. I like Warren as a player. I don't think he'll project that well for the Colts. He's probably got to come down to like the 125 range in ADP. I think a little bit too highly drafted right now. Besides that, for the Colts, DJ Giddens, a popular pre-draft pick. He's now your likely RB handcuff for the Colts. So he's got some juice. He's an okay player, but he's very much blocked by Jonathan Taylor right now. I would view him as mostly a contingent value guy, frankly, like a Garendo tier contingent value guy. Your hope is that maybe he takes 5 to 10 touches away a game. I'm not sure you're guaranteed that. Riley Leonard, now your backup to already a QB competition with Daniel Jones and AR. I don't see the merits in taking him at all. And that's it that they added offensively. So the good news is Nody being added a receiver. They've got enough guys after taking A.D. Mitchell last year. But Warren being added in is basically like taking another receiver. So not sure how that's going to go for that team. Let's go to the drafters board here because we've got a pick coming up. Does Hunt and Pacheco move up the board? No surviving the draft? No, because they added Mitchell already. So if you add Eli Mitchell, Mitchell should already be a better version of Hunt. I believe he got paid more than Hunt as well. So that backfield's already muddied up, but it could have gotten more muddied up. So they didn't do that. All right, pick coming up. Similar crop of guys here. Rashad White, still, I think, a little bit underdrafted in terms of ADP. Tyjae Spears giving me another shot at the Tennessee backfield I could live with. Quentin Johnston coming down. Dobbs coming down. Really a big faller part of the draft here. I'm sad for Jerome Ford that I'm not clicking him here, but I am going to take Tyjae Spears over him. Just try to cover up the Tennessee backfield and hope that's it for them. Jacksonville. So I put Trevor Lawrence in the thumbnail today because Jacksonville, I think this offseason, big fan of Liam Cohen after, frankly, I slept on him coming into the Tampa Bay offensive coordinator role. Really wasn't impressed with what he did at Kentucky. His pedigree just didn't speak enough to me here, even though he was a Rams guy, has been around good coaches and all that. With what they're doing for Jacksonville, I really like it. Travis Hunter is supposedly going to be used a lot at receiver. So, Hunter, where's his ADP at? Drafters. Hunter, 66.5 ADP. He went, oh no, I'm getting all the Hunters here. He went at 47 in this room. It's a little lofty because if he is going to play any defensive back, he's probably not playing all the snaps at receiver. But Jacksonville has indicated they want to use Travis Hunter overall as like a receiver primarily, and then I guess maybe a slot corner instead. On the other side of things, not a primary corner. I don't know how that works out. I don't think you're guaranteed it. I don't think that Travis Hunter should be a top 50 pick, but I really like what it means for Jacksonville. I like what they've done this entire offseason, getting some other guys in, trading out the guys that they didn't want anymore. Building a team and what Liam Cohen wants to accomplish there, I think is a positive. Bashal Tutin, I do think people are going to make the Bucky Irving comp. I don't think he's as good as Bucky, even though the avoided tackle rate is similar. He's just not as efficient, gets stuffed a lot more, doesn't add as much value in the pass game. But I think Tutin is live to be the Bucky of this team as well. I think he's still going to have to get ahead of now two Rashad Whites with ATN and Tank Bigsby. Both guys have merits, I think, to be on the field over a Tutin. So I don't think it's wheels up for Tutin, but I think it's wheels up for Jacksonville as an offense overall, for Trevor Lawrence as well. A stack of different combos of these guys. So I like Jacksonville a lot, like what they did here. I think they made good additions. They also, frankly, didn't add too many guys at wide receiver either, where Gabe Davis maybe not going to be long for the team, but I think he's probably still in the mix enough here, even though they haven't talked about it a lot in some of the coach speak quotes and all that. But Travis Hunter playing a lot of receiver, I think is a good click. I just unfortunately think the market's a little bit too excited for him. They're going to take him top 50. He's great out wide, though. And as I've said many times here, anybody that tells you he's a slot guy, just ignore them. They don't know what they're looking at because he never played slot really at Colorado. Was out wide 99% of the time. LaQuint Allen also goes, was never a LaQuint Allen guy. I think when you are drafting a Tootin as well, those guys both, I guess, are going to have the same opportunity. But Tootin coming with more draft capital, more juice. I just don't think LaQuint Allen was ever really a guy. KC, the only addition that matters for fantasy is Jalen Royals being added. I love Royals' talent. He was a good target earner, good RAS guy as well. Produced a 0.32 EPA per target, 119 yards per game, and 109 air yards. So more yards per game than air yards, also a positive to see always. I'll say that for Jalen Royals. I don't think it's wheels up for him necessarily, even though his ADP probably comes up from the low 190s that had fallen to. He's still got to beat out Rice. Rice being not healthy will help him out a lot more with that. But I think Royals, frankly, I think to me, he'll be better than Marquise Brown at some point. I think he could be similarly good to Rashee Rice, maybe better in terms of the athletic profile. I think Royals got a good landing spot. We're on the clock here for drafters. Got Zach Ertz, would like to add more at receiver. I think Leggett's got to come down more. I'm going to get Josh Palmer here. Big believer in Josh Palmer coming into Buffalo. Like what they've done with him, as I've talked about when doing some underdog drafts. I think he's a little bit too cheap. Think Josh Palmer, pretty much a mirror to Khalil Shakir, but clearly Buffalo has a type now, and you'll have one Keon Coleman, two Khalil Shakirs, and Shakir and Josh Palmer. They're going to spike back and forth, I think, for the most part there. Just getting any share of the Buffalo primary receivers, I think, looks okay. Late to the chat, but if Golden is good, doesn't he simply dust? He's not that good. He's not good enough target earner is the issue. He's fast. I think he's efficient, but you got to command targets at a better rate than 20% to sell me on it. I think, again, like I said before, I think he's just a Jalen Reed kind of type guy, Jaden Reed kind of type of guy, rather, where he'll be efficient when he gets targets. I think he'll spike, but I don't think you're going to expect him to get 8 targets a game, and that's where obviously the biggest upside would be. Let's keep going. We got a few more picks. Let's try to make some more ground up, going team by team here. Chargers. So Chargers get Omarion Hampton, who I love, Trey Harris, who I love, Keandre Lambert-Smith, I have literally no opinions on. But Hampton and Harris were two of my favorite guys in the draft. As I said, Hampton was a clear RB2 for me this entire time. I think it's a bad news for Najee Harris. And he was taking Najee Harris as well. You got to drop him, I think, frankly, to the 100s, if not 110s, 120s. Again, I love Harris as a pick. I think he's a better version of Quentin Johnson. Did really well. Yards per route run, EPA per target, all that stuff. 0.64 EPA per target for him while commanding 8.5 targets a game out wide. Just crazy numbers for Harris. And now you're getting Justin Herbert as his QB, getting those Quentin Johnson targets potentially. The issue, though, is he's going to have to beat out Quentin Johnson. So I don't think you can guarantee him full run out, full opportunity and all that. But I like the landing spot for Harris, and I think he'll be the best version of himself for that team. All right, so we got a pick coming up here. We've got 4 RBs, including Gibbs, our hero. Giddens, a pure backup at this point. A lot of these guys are that. Tillman, I mean, nothing at Cleveland would make me think Tillman's a worse play at this point. Tillman, I think the big issue I have with him is that he kind of sustained some unrealistic numbers last year with Jameis. Like, you're not going to have that with the motley crew they have at QB this year. But Shedeur Sanders can be accurate. Dylan Gabriel also, I thought, was looked to me like a light Bo Nix coming in, even though he is darker than Bo Nix. But in terms of the stats, like, he looked like kind of a lesser version of Bo Nix. So I'm okay with what Cleveland's doing and taking a shot at Tillman here. But you have a lot of bodies at receiver now. You're adding Harold Fannin in. If they want to use him deliberately, he's going to take some targets away. That'd be my concern point for taking Tillman at all. But pick 173, you can live with it. And then for the Chargers, to sum it up, I love Hampton. Think he's got to be cheaper, though, with Harris there. With Najee Harris, that is. Trey Harris, love him, but think that he also needs to flatten out a little bit more with Quentin Johnston. Think he's a much better player than Quentin Johnston, but those are barriers. So Arondé Gatson as well, a risk to maybe take some of those heavy targets going Hayden Hurst's way. But nothing I want to load up on for the Chargers, but I think they made good moves for themselves to let the best man win out. And Hampton should beat out Najee Harris. Trey Harris should beat out Quentin Johnston. But, they're both the meme of the dude, the Joker giving the sticks out in the Dark Knight. They're going to fight it out. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. How did DeAndre Swift survive the draft? Good question. I'm surprised by it based on how they talked about him, but maybe they just didn't land in the spot. They wanted to take a guy that actually mattered. That's it. General guy Tyler's been working hard on the Fantasy Sanctuary channel if you want to check him out. And also doing some drafters promo here, even though please don't use Tyler's promo code. Use promo code SPLASH, but do check out his streams as well. Swift too good? I don't think there's anything about Swift that says he's too good, including Ben Johnson's own experience with him, but neither here nor there. Rams. So Rams add Terrence Ferguson, who I mentioned on some of the big board drafts as a guy to take later on. He is a freak athlete. Higbee is a guy that clearly trusted a lot, feeding a ton of targets to for the Rams. That could absolutely be a blocker for Ferguson getting playing time. But freak athlete in the Rams offense with this changeover going on. You're adding Devontae Adams in. That's not great, but there is open targets to go around losing Cooper Kupp. I think for Ferguson, an interesting click, probably more of like your 20th round third tight end guy rather than somebody you want to rely on as tight end too, especially with Higbee there. But if you're taking Higbee late, you should take some Terrence Ferguson. For Jarquez Hunter, I think he's better than Blake Corum right away. He misses more tackles. Hunter for himself has 25% avoided tackle rate, 0.13 EPA per rush. I think he's better than Corum, so I think that should knock Corum down. Corum feels to me like more of a natural direct handcuff for Kyron Williams. But I think that Hunter got a decent landing spot for handcuff value, if not much else. That's it at this spot. We got Corum. We got Jalen Wright. Miami's added some RBs. I am going to go Alec Pierce here, the only receiver who does what he does for Indianapolis. We'll add him as our wide receiver 8, and maybe we'll skim some more RBs on the home stretch here. Let's keep going team by team on this tab. And guys, if you appreciate this content, again, working here on a Sunday because Drafters Tournament is out and I owe you guys some streams. Please show some love, though. Hit the like button, subscribe. Going to be fighting uphill against some of the assholes who are going to downvote every video because they're butthurt about fucking not knowing situations. Either way, though, I'm going to keep here doing the work, and that's the goal. Now moving on with Drafters here post-NFL draft. So show some love if you can. Subscribe, hit the like button. That'd help me fight off the... I mean, frankly, last video is my most downvoted video, my most upvoted video, and most views I've gotten in a while, so I don't fucking know. But please show some love and hit the like button if you can. It goes a long way. We got Ashton Jeanty for the Raiders. So wheels up for the Raiders. You have Raheem Mostert there blocking some potential as well, but nobody else drafted at RB in the class. Ashton Jeanty, high draft capital. I think he's in a good spot. Raiders going to be better this year with Geno Smith. I really have no complaints about what's going on at this point. With Ashton Jeanty and where he got drafted. I don't think he should come up any higher in ADP. And frankly, if he fell a little bit because people are unsure about the Raiders, that's fine. But Chip Kelly got good results from OSU last year. Has gotten good results pretty much every time he's run an offense. I think that for Ashton Jeanty, he looks really good. Jack Bech was a guy I liked a lot. I am shocked he went end of the second round. He did grade out really well to me, graded out better than Savion Williams on the same team. Bech had a 0.67 EPA per target. He's better than everybody in the class besides Jordan Watkins, who had a 0.76 EPA at much less volume. Bech, not a great targeter at only 25%, but still good enough. I think Bech is a strong player as well, and frankly, wouldn't mind adding him to this team. All right, so Corum's still here. 25 picks after ADP. I think this works to take Blake Corum here. Definitely do think Jarquez Hunter is a risk for him, but we need some extra RB volume here. And we got 20 rounds, so Blake Corum is it. Let's give the team a read here, and we'll go back to the team-by-team look for the NFL draft. We got Jaden Daniels and Kyler Murray at QB, Jahmyr Gibbs, Tony Pollard, Ramondre Stevenson at a big discount, Tyjae Spears as well to round out the Tennessee backfield, hopefully. Blake Corum added as our RB5 here. We're hoping Gibbs carries a lot of that weight at /1 Tennessee RB a given week. DJ Moore, Romo Dunze, the Chicago stack without the QB. Debo Samuel stacked up with Jaden, Christian Kirk. Jalen McMillan was an auto, but I don't mind it. Josh Palmer, Cedric Tillman, Alec Pierce, and then Trey McBride stacked up with Kyler. Isaiah Likely here. I like the team. Think maybe a little more capital going to RB instead of wide receiver would have helped it out a little bit more, but I think we can live with that for the first team we're drafting of this new cycle. I'm trying to line this up better. Show me the names. There we go. There we go. All right. Back to the Raiders over here. So Jack Bech looking good. Dante Thornton, not a guy who has enough of a sample size to matter in terms of my data. Anytime you're adding in another guy in addition to Jack Bech, it's maybe not great for Jack Bech. Adding Malott as well, another guy that there's not enough sample size for me to really have a grade on. I'm surprised by the amount of receivers they added here, but it's going to be a competition to win out. Jack Bech is the best opportunity being your number 2 guy. And frankly, he should be better than a Trey Tucker type playing out wide. He'll get targets. He'll be good enough. He's not fast like Alec Pierce. I wouldn't view him as that. I think he's like a less athletic Puka is how I'd view him, where he'll do okay target earning, not as much at the level of Puka. I also probably wouldn't want to give him short targets. But I think he can do something useful. So I like Besh. I just probably wouldn't go crazy over him. Miami. We got really nothing of note for Miami besides Ollie Gordon. So Gordon coming in, I don't think is a good thing. He can replace some power touches for the Dolphins, but I would guess most likely he's probably a different look to Jalen Wright and to Achane, obviously. Those guys more speed backs. Ollie Gordon just a pure power back without a lot of escapability. Not a crazy Ollie Gordon guy, but he's on the roster now, so I suppose he's draftable. I did warn about him, though, throughout the entire pre-draft process. I didn't think he was going to get a good enough landing spot / draft capital. Definitely didn't get the draft capital as a contingent value landing spot. You can definitely find worse. Quinn Ewers at QB, I think is interesting. He was really good the year before last. Was not good last year, though. Certainly when you're getting squeezed by Arch Manning, that can happen a little bit. But Quinn Ewers, 7th-round pick, not a guy I would draft at all, but somebody to watch out for, I think. Maybe if you do a super flex draft at some point, take him as a hedge if you have a Miami stack without Tua. We got 2 picks before our next drafters pick. For Minnesota, really nothing of note here besides Ty Felton. Gavin Bartholomew, another tight end coming in, probably gets some more snaps in that Johnny Munt tier. Doesn't really matter too much to me. Ty Felton, though, I think has juice, and I think could be a better Jalen Nailor. I was surprised to see Ty Felton put up the athletic profile he did because he did not initially have good reports about his 40 time, but he was an RAS monster. He also had a 34% target route run rate. Not a great EPA at 0.22 EPAs per target, but still positive overall. Played out wide, played out of the slot as well. I think he's a really sneaky pick. I like Ty Felton. I do think there's a lot of blockers there for him getting playing time, obviously, when you have Jordan Addison, when you have Justin Jefferson. But if things got weird with Addison, Felton could take those Addison routes and I think do something with it. So I think Felton's a nice click and a nice player overall. We're on the clock here. Need some more RB if we can. This guy's not the most exciting. Though Marshawn Lloyd survived Green Bay's draft. So Marshawn Lloyd back on the board here for me in round 18. Let's keep going through the teams. And I should have gone to the board here. Here's the board. Sorry. Forgot to click that button. But our team so far here on drafters, we got Jaden Daniels, Kyler Murray, Jahmyr Gibbs, Tony Pollard, Ramondre Stevenson, Tyjae Spears, Blake Corum, and Marshawn Lloyd. 2 guys who could be in the mix with Corum and Lloyd. At the very least, though, I think handcuff value for sure. At receiver, we have DJ Moore and Romo Dunze, so our Chicago stack sans the QB. Deebo Samuel stacked up with Jaden. We have Christian Kirk, Jalen McMillan, Joshua Palmer, Cedric Tillman, Alec Pierce, and a tight end. Could maybe use one more, but we don't really need it. McBride and Isaiah Likely. I like the team. Could definitely be a little more stacky, but I don't think we need it. So back to the drafts here. So New England adding Travion Henderson, adding Kyle Williams. They're 2 big additions here. Both guys should immediately knock everybody down the pecking order because, number one, they're representing us new coaching staff coming in. The big issue is, for me with New England, I just don't buy in this offense being good on paper. I think they might run the ball well. I think they might be efficient when they take shots. But I don't expect it to be a high pass volume team. A lot of stuff going on in terms of what they did defensively. Obviously signing the good Milton Williams to a contract of note. They're trying to do more defensively, as is always going to be the case for Mike Vrabel teams, where you want to stop up front and then maybe give up some deep production. That's always the way Tennessee's teams work. So I think at this point for New England, obviously when you add in a guy like Travion Henderson, you add in Kyle Williams at receiver. Those guys are both fine. Kyle Williams, I thought a little bit overhyped by some of the content creators out there, but he's fine. I just don't trust they're going to be in a good enough offense to like. So those guys certainly key players to take for New England, but I don't love them, and I don't love New England overall. All right, we got a pick coming up. Really fun to dig down on here. Really not a pocket I love. I'll take Hopkins, who I do think gets the Nelson Aguilar shitty touchdowns. Even as he withered away in KC last year, we saw a lot of targets going DeAndre Hopkins' way. So for round 19, DeAndre Hopkins here, one more receiver. I can live with that. And some RBs we could take, but we'll get back to that in a minute. All right, go back to the team by team view here. Really, you can see a lot of defensive picks, a lot of O-line picks. Kind of not surprising based upon the coaching staff coming in for New England. For New Orleans on their side, so Tyler Show coming in. I don't think he's that good. I was really unimpressed by his numbers overall. He had an on-target rate of 67%, which is worse than everybody in the class, including Jalen Milroe. His catchable ball rate was 78%, worse than everybody in the class as well, including Jalen Milroe. He had a 0.19 EPA per dropback. That's fine. He played at Louisville, though, so I don't really know how much that matters really relative to the competition. Plus EPA throws at every level, but not that great downfield. 0.64 EPA there would be a little bit behind Cam Ward, good enough behind Shador, behind Milroe, a little bit ahead of Ewers. I just don't get why New Orleans like show that much. But is it Shoe? Is it Show? I heard them say the name during the draft and it really has escaped my brain. I just don't think he's that talented. I think he looks a lot like Clayton Tune to me in terms of the numbers. Shuck? I think it's anyway, I think there were better QBs to take there. I think Dylan Gabriel would have been a better pick for him. I think there are a lot of guys that would have been better than Shuck. I just don't think he's that good. It's actually Shuck? Okay, I appreciate it because Adam could be trolling. So Charlie confirming it will give me that full confidence here. Shuck. So I don't see anything special with him. He's a capable player, but I don't think he's the guy. I mean, if Derek Carr is healthy, I don't know why Derek Carr is going to hold out of fear that Shuck's going to take his job. I don't know that he's better than the guys they tried out at QB last year at all. So surprised by that pick. I don't think it was a good pick. I'm not a believer in him overall. But Shuck is a guy I guess you could take if you want. And I like New Orleans. I like Kellen Moore. I don't want to shit on their first pick because I do believe there's some upside in just the coaching staff and them picking who they want. But I'm shocked he's the guy. I'm shucked he's the guy because I just don't think he's that good. Jackson Dart being the guy, absolutely. That's a home run. Shuck being the guy, I would rather take Milroe. I would rather take Shador. I don't know. We got a pick coming up here. We got 6 RBs, 9 wide receivers, so I think we're good with that front of things. Eli Mitchell free down here. I could do that. So that's our last pick in the draft here, round 20, final team. We'll do one more draft here. So if you want to play with me on Drafters, good time right now to go deposit and get in there. Promo code SPLASH, $100 deposit match for you. We got Jaden Daniels, Kyler Murray here at QB, Jahmyr Gibbs, Tony Pollard, Ramondre Stevenson, Tyjae Spears, Blake Corum, Marshawn Lloyd, and Elijah Mitchell here for free down the home stretch. I don't think he should be. I think he should be ahead of Hunt and probably not ahead of Pacheco, but frankly, with how bad Pacheco was, maybe. Receiver, we have DJ Moore, Romo Dunze, Chicago stacked without the QB. Debo stacked up for Washington. Christian Kirk for Houston. Jalen McMillan, Josh Palmer, Cedric Tillman, Alec Pierce, DeAndre Hopkins. I think the top 5 at receiver could have been a little bit better, but if the Chicago stack is good, we should be okay. And then Trey McBride, Isaiah Likely at tight end. I like this team. I think receiver could have been better, but I'm not surprised. Spent a lot of draft capital, not a receiver in the top 100s. That's going to happen. All right, one more draft here in the Best Ball Championship main event. Kitty's sleeping next to me, so we're good on that front. She's not trying to get out. So one more fast draft here. $20 entry, $500K to first place, as we talked about. And that's what I'm going to be doing here on this next stream. So 10 more spots if you want to play alongside with me here. You never lie about pronunciation. It's good to know. I didn't know that was part of your family coat. The correct pronunciation of Tyler Shuck's last name is Shuck, not Show or Cough. Shuck himself confirmed this, saying it's pronounced like, oh, shucks, or shuck corn. You could go fucking shuck some corn, I'll tell you what. Really, don't love the pick, but I appreciate the clarification on his name. For New Orleans, they also added Devin Neal, Molokai Matavayo. Matavayo, I don't get it. You paid Jalen Johnson a lot of money. I presume that's the tight end to only worry about at this point. If you still want to go to Moreau, you can, I guess. Devin Neal, though, power back to add into a bunch of shiftier backs with Alvin Kamara, as well as having, if they still like Kendra Miller enough to play him, he's more of a speed/shifty back. So I'm okay with what they did. Feels like adding a receiver here might have been nice, but the fact they didn't add a receiver in is a good thing for Shaheed and Olave. Devin Neal, I think, was always a little bit overhyped by some of the content creators out there, but he's a player, so that's what you got going. 5 more spots to the draft, too, on Drafters if you want to get in with me. Giants. So Abdul Carter, one of few names to care about on defense. He's going to be a game changer for them on the front 4. That's one thing to note there. Still a shitty secondary for the Giants that did nothing to address. So it's a positive for fantasy environments, creating pressure, but still having a bad secondary. Doesn't really matter that much for the defense being better. Jackson Dart, I love the pick. Think that he to Neighbors over the next couple of years. If you are a dynasty player out there, Dart to Neighbors, make it happen if you can. Dart to me was he wasn't as good of a QB to me as Cam Ward because I knew what Cam Ward was doing and I had less questions about the gimmickry of it. But Jackson Dart, aggressive downfield thrower, high EPA per throw guy as well. 0.32 EPA per drop back, best in the class. 0.37 EPA per drop back, best in the class as well. Though pretty much even with Curtis Rourke and Will Howard for the drop back numbers. But Jackson Dart's really good. He made Trey Harris look good, made a bunch of the other Ole Miss receivers look good. I think Jackson Dart is a stud. I think he's a good pick. The tough part for him is that he's got to beat out Russell Wilson and Jameis now. It's not the best team in the world. New York has already declared Russell Wilson to be the starter, so that's kind of what we're running up against. But no matter what, I think Jackson Dart has a good career. I think he got a great landing spot to have that alpha target earner. And you still have Slayton there. You have Hyatt there. You have Wandale. You have Theo Johnson being a freak athlete at tight end. You add Scatterbo in for easy checkdowns. It is, to me, and I said this in the Discord yesterday, like this is the kind of team that I would build. I would take an aggressive, high EPA, downfield throwing QB. I would take an RB that's got some juice. Got to be one of the higher avoided tackle rate guys in the class. Graded out to me like a poor man's Bucky Irving, including the fact I didn't think he was a good enough athlete to get the draft capital. But he's got to deal with Tyrone Tracy there. Tracy's not a great player, but he's good enough and showed some ability to get volume last year. Singletary's still there as well, though maybe could get cut. But I'd like to see him for the Giants. I think they did a good job. I don't think they're going to take the year one glow up like Washington did. I think they've got enough flaws still, and I don't think Jackson Dart's that kind of QB, let alone I don't think he starts week one. I think if he gets in this year, it's probably more the back half of the season, unless Russ gets hurt or something, then wheels up. But I like what they did. Giants, to me, I'm a big believer. And again, less actionable for drafts like Jacksonville is, where I think you want to immediately get a lot of Jacksonville guys. But I think the New York Giants are the best state they've been in since they were competing for Super Bowl teams that are probably a little bit above their head. And we're in this draft, by the way, it did fill. So I'm picking in the 8th spot here. So we have some time to try to round out the rest of our winners and losers. Who do I draft, Neal or Miller? You should draft them equally. They're functionally the same play at this point. There's no real lean. Neither's Kamara, but they both have a shot to win over a new coaching staff. Would think the fact that the new regime coming in wants Neal probably matters a little bit, but they're different backs, so I think they have equal reasons to go. And Gibbs going number 2 in this draft. That surprised me ahead of Saquon. All right. Anyway, back to the team-by-team look here. Cover the Giants well enough against Scatterbo-like. Thomas Fedone, I don't think matters very much, even though welcome to the family, Thomas Fedone. But yeah, Giants to me, like what they did overall, think really more the Scatterbo Dart part of things. And Abdul Carter, think they did what they had to do as a football team. And didn't also throw it all against the wall to save the guys' jobs, to save Dable's job and Joe Shane's job. Like they didn't do that. It's impressive they showed some discipline and actually built a good team throughout that process. We're on the clock here with pick 8. Malik Neighbors is here. We just filleted the Giants. So sure, Malik Neighbors, come on down. Jency goes 7 in this room. Interesting to see. So for the Jets, Jets add Mason Taylor, who to me graded out like the most middle of the pack tight end out of all the guys they have. If they took Harold Fannin, be like, wow, cool. That's a fun, exciting target to have. Mason Taylor, I think, will do things that Conklin did and do them maybe a little bit better. But nothing about his college numbers grade out as special to me. 22% target per out run, 0.28 EPA per target, basically towards the lower end in terms of the target earning, EPA, middle of the class. Didn't really get a lot in the red zone, 0.6 red zone targets a game. You had guys like Tyler Warren getting 1.3 a game, Fannin getting 1.6, Aronde Gatson getting 1.5 red zone targets a game, so nothing special there. I think Taylor will be a tight end that we end up hearing about for years, but I think he's more the Cade Otton kind of tight end than he is your Brock Bowers. I mean, your Loveland, any of the other guys in his class. Just don't really think Mason Taylor is anything special, but he's on the team, so good for him. We got a pick coming up here in a moment. Take a sip of beer too. What are these guys picking? I would love to see them. Let Brian Thomas fall, guys, please. Let him fall, and then you can go take Travis Hunter at pick 40, like everybody seems to be doing right now. That'd be fun. All right, so unfortunately, Brian Thomas goes to the Huron River Rat, who I think is Jason in the chat. We'll go Drake London here, who I do feel pretty comfortable with as well at receiver. We've talked about how I think he should be end of the first round. Still feel that way on drafters as well. Probably more so because of the PPR. So a Neighbors Drake London start, I'm pretty cool and comfortable with that. Anyway, for the Jets, Nothing being added RB, so you got the same concerns about Breece Hall basically you had anyway, but at the very least, for everybody else there, including Breece Hall, nobody else being added to muddy things further, so that's a positive. And a backfield's already pretty muddied up with Braylon Allen, with Isaiah Davis and Breece Hall on top of that. Arian Smith, I have no real feel for. Actually, maybe Adam in the chat will have something to say about Arian Smith that I'm not privy to. But Arian Smith to me, where did I put him? Put him in my sheet. Oh, here we go. 21% target per out run, 0.3 EPA per target, not good. 4% avoided tackle rate on pass plays, really bad, not shifty at all, not what you want to see. Did play mostly out wide, getting 4 targets a game. Decent downfield, 1.05 EPA per target there. Bad in the red zone, though. Didn't really command targets at a negative 0.1 EPA there. 10 drops for Aaron. All right, so there you go for Arian Smith. JMO type, that makes sense given the deep target numbers there. But not great target earning. Okay efficiency overall. Could be better. Could also be worse, I will say. But Arian Smith, to me, the big benefit to him is just that the Jets have nobody else that matters. So I think it's going to be an offense that does pass less. Seems like everything they've been saying, bringing in Justin Fields, think they're going to want to control the ball more. But Smith having some deep shots there, succeeding in games where Garrett Wilson doesn't get there, I think is possible. So not crazy about him, but hearing he's really fast, seeing the numbers, that all bears out. I don't think he's a bad click if you have Justin Fields and you want to take somebody for cheap. Arian Smith right now, no ADP on him on drafters. So I think Arian Smith you could take if you have Justin Fields. Probably wouldn't take him on his own. Surprised he got taken that early. All right, there you go. So for Adam to be surprised he got taken that early, must not be the greatest cosign in the world. But he does something different than Garrett Wilson, so I think that's a positive. And there's obviously opportunity to go around there with the guys who are moving out of the wide receiver core. So I got it. For Philadelphia, we got 2 more picks before we come up on drafters. Let's try to finish this out. Philadelphia here, nobody really of note taken. Supposedly they were in the mix to take Shador, and then the Browns traded up ahead of them. But they took Kyle McCord instead, adding him, I guess, to replace the Kenny Pickett's QB spot in the room. Frankly, Tanner McKee, I think, looked good enough that he's probably your backup. McCord, people liked a little bit pre-draft. I wasn't quite as sold. Think he looks kind of like Shuck to me, just a backup dude with nothing special. But, he got taken. We got neighbors in London here. We've got McLaurin and Harrison on the board. Josh Allen, Lamar as well. Doesn't really feel like an RB spot here. I think we keep loading up at receiver, and I will take the slight discount on Terry McLaurin. I don't think Washington added enough at this point, unless we're still paying the price tag for Debo and him being added. McLaurin's come down enough. I think him at pick 32 here feels pretty good, and we'll see what we get on the way back. Spoiler alert. Back to the drafts. Philadelphia here, nothing that matters. Team exactly the same as it was last year. Pittsburgh. So Caleb Johnson, I think, is your big winner overall. He had the colors already in college playing at Iowa, but he's the kind of back that Pittsburgh has in the past, including your Najee Harris, is just given an endless amount of touches to and trusted. It's not a great scene for Jaylen Warren. Warren could certainly hold off. A guy like Caleb Johnson really wasn't that great to me. Caleb Johnson in college last year, according to Sports Info Solutions, 25% avoided tackle rate, but a 21% stuffed run rate, which is really bad for a guy who's supposed to be like this blitzing power back guy who can run over people. You didn't really show that versus 8-man boxes or versus getting the run stuffed. But a 0.13 EPA per rush overall, 0.01 EPA per target's not that great, but not bad either. He got 6.9 touches a game against an 8-man box, flat 0 EPA, so added nothing there, but also didn't really take anything away. But I think Caleb Johnson is just that Pittsburgh quintessential back, so good landing spot for him. I think he probably has to be around where Jaylen Warren goes, but shouldn't go much higher than that. Will Howard being added for Pittsburgh, kind of interesting, because I think Will Howard actually had sneakily a very good year last year, 0.32 EPA per target, 78% on target rate. On target, actually more than Shador, who I thought his big calling card was the accuracy. Will Howard could start over Mason Rudolph. So I wouldn't draft him for that. I think Rudolph's going to be trusted a lot more. But if they don't add anybody else, if they don't get Aaron Rodgers, I think Will Howard got a shot to actually make some hay there. So, yeah, I would defend that. Like Chase Brown here, I've not been able to get a lot of Jaden and McLaurin from where their ADPs lined up, and it seems like now they're aligning a little bit better. So I am just going to go Jaden again here. My second Jaden team. The biases haven't changed, even though the ADP has. I think Jaden's got a good shot to be QB1 this year. That said, again, as like I mentioned earlier, Washington hasn't impressed me a ton, but probably some more easy passing touchdowns to get with Debo there. Maybe that hurts his rushing opportunity a little bit because if you have some checkdowns to get, some design screens, that's how it looks. The jersey is over there. I'm not going to go up and get the jersey for it, but the jersey at some point we'll get back to wearing jerseys. We'll get back to putting more clothes on me, as everybody's always looking for in internet content. So for Pittsburgh, let's go back to here. For Pittsburgh, Will Howard, I think don't sleep on him. I'll say that right now. I think that he can do what Mason Rudolph does, but better. But I don't think you're going to get a shot to see that happen for a while. For Seattle, the early part of the draft, not that interesting. Elijah Arroyo being added in, though. That's not great for Noah Fant. That's not great for Barner. People have been taking him a little bit in some of the big board style drafts. Arroyo is not a great target earner, but is really efficient with what he's been doing. Also good enough athlete, did well at the Senior Bowl. 0.52 EPA per target playing with Cam Ward last year at Miami, but only an 18% target per route run rate, so really bad on that front. I don't think he matters a ton, but he could spike. So Arroyo, if you have Darnold, you want the third tight end for free. I think you do that with Arroyo. Milroe is a real problem for this team because you have the injury guarantees end of year for Darnold. If Seattle's not good, they could easily bench Darnold and play Milroe. There's no guarantee that happens, though. If Seattle's competitive for a playoff spot, they probably play Darnold the whole year and try to compete because that's what the team would like to do, especially the defensively minded head coach and all that. So I don't think Milroe's in a great situation. People are starting to take him a lot more in drafts. I don't think you got the outcome you're looking for there. But if you're not taking Darnold, you can take Milroe. Really think, though, got to be a 3 QB build. Torrey Horton, freak athlete, has had some knee injuries in the past, got drafted into the 5th round. I think he's interesting here because he does fill something for Seattle they don't have right now. You have a lot of good target earning possession receivers with JSN, with Cooper Kupp. Horton, he is a boundary guy who can play outside, can be your sacrificial X, or get some targets out wide, do something with it. And he was a much better athlete than I would have thought he would be. So I think for Torrey Horton, I don't think he's a bad pick. Again, if you have a Seattle stack, take him for free. Probably wouldn't do him outside of that context, though. Damian Martinez, people really picked up some steam on him late. He actually had a good RAS score as a pure power back. The issue, and something I've learned over the last couple of years, and why I don't often tout guys who are like pure power backs, they just don't get the esteem for the most part in draft capital and all that. He's now behind Charbonnet and Walker. That's not good for Damian Martinez. It wouldn't be crazy to give him red zone work, but I don't think there's any guarantee of that, especially given the fact Seattle would love to get red zone work to Kenneth Walker. That's been the case for every coaching regime they've had. So I don't think Damian Martinez is really a click unless you're going pure contingent value and you want to get a Seattle back in. We're on the clock here. We've got Kittle, Kamara, Kenneth Walker, Travion Henderson. Don't mind Kittle. A little bit after ADP here. Some chance that we could see Kittle do a holdout here, but let's go Kittle at tight end. Kamara was also pretty tempting to me, but we'll see what we get on the way back. Shout out Wounded Geese playing in the 12 hole. Appreciate it. Good luck to you as well, my friend. All right, rest of the NFL draft teams. We're so close to the finish line. Seattle also took Ricky White, 7th round. I don't think that matters too much. White, people liked him a little bit. I think maybe some people touted him, kind of like a Nick Nash. Ricky White, I think, not really a dude to me. If you have a different feel than that, feel free. San Francisco. Nothing of note here, really. They added Jordan Watkins, as we talked about earlier. He was really efficient last year and part of that Jackson Dart offense. They also did take Jordan James. He is probably now the backup to the backup to the backup on San Francisco. I would say he's safely behind Garendo, safely behind CMC. It may shock you to hear that. A 5th round Jordan James, safely behind CMC. But, if the injury bug strikes again, Jordan James can get there. I just don't think he's really a player to click, but I also didn't feel like Jordan Mason was a player to click too much last year. We saw how that worked out. Curtis Rourke, frankly, not a bad pick overall. Seemingly there just as a backup, got to develop a little bit because they are in deep negotiations with Brock Purdy for his big new deal. But Rourke graded out pretty well to be Indiana, was one of the guys transferring over there with the new coaching staff. I think he was actually pretty efficient in college last year, had a 0.33 EPA per target, one of the better marks in the league, pretty much up there with Dart and Will Howard. Frankly, also pretty efficient on target rate of 76%. Doesn't really matter, but I think he's kind of a legit player. And if they didn't get a deal done with Purdy, maybe O'Rourke matters a little bit more, or Rourke matters a little bit more, rather. We got a couple picks. One more pick before we come up. We're so close to this winners and losers proclamation. Let's go to the drafters board. Then we'll do Tampa Bay. Guys, you got value of this content again, please show some love. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. It does go a long way for me here, especially as we're trying to show drafters how much pull that I hopefully have in this ecosystem. Kenneth Walker still here, 11 spots after ADP. Juwan Jennings to do the Niners stack would also be pretty good. I would be loaded at receiver, I think, if I take Juwan Jennings. I like Walker a lot at this ADP, but I am going to take Juwan Jennings. We took Kittle, got a little bit of a discount on him, adding Jennings a little bit of a value as well. I'm going to do that, and then hopefully we can get Purdy, but we don't really need it. We can just do the Niners stack and have Jaden come over the top for the points. So I can live with that as it is. But the team so far, Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, Drake London, Terry McLaurin, Juwan Jennings, and George Kittle. Really tough for me to not click Kenneth Walker, but maybe there's some world where he comes all the way back to 80. Who knows? All right, so for Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay added Tez Johnson, who is way too slow but crazy efficient in Oregon. 7th round pick, though, probably doesn't matter too much. Egbuka is the one that matters a lot. Pick 19, huge draft capital going his way. They just paid big money to Chris Godwin. Egbuka does not play out wide. That's something that people will go like, and it happens every fucking year where people go like, he can play out wide. And it's like, no, slot players play out the slot primarily. Your Lad McConkey's might move out wide a little bit more and have some success because he's a good enough athlete. Egbuka is as well, but he ends up playing more slot than not because that's where you're the best. That's where the results have been the best for those guys. So even, and I think for the record, I think Lad McConkey, maybe just mostly for Adam in the chat, I think Lad McConkey's a lot better player than Egbuka, even though these guys have similar draft capital. But Egbuka barely got targeted out wide at all, didn't qualify amongst top 100 target earners last year at OSU playing out wide. But he got 5.2 targets a game out of the slot, 0.57 EPA there. Didn't get targeted deep enough to even qualify either. Not enough 20-plus air yard throws, but got 1 red zone target a game. That's fine. Egbuka to me is an okay slot guy. 30% target per out run rate. Like, he's fine. I think he's a worse player than JSN based on the historical OSU comps that you want to make. I think he also didn't show as much overall with more opportunity, less good bodies around him than JSN and Marvin Harris and some other guys had. I'm not like wowed by Egbuka. I think he's kind of this contingent value against Godwin. He'll get drafted pretty highly. I mean, did he get taken already here? Egbuka's still on the board here, but has an 82 ADP. I think it's a good pick for the Bucks. I don't think it's a good pick for fantasy. I think it's a good pick for us, overall. But that's really how I feel about Egbuka right now. I'm going to go Aaron Jones here. And nobody we're worried about being added to Minnesota right now besides Jordan Mason. So Aaron Jones is my click on the drafters board. Sorry, forgot to click over here. And we are almost done with our team-by-team review. And Tez Johnson, as you might gather, not really a play. But Egbuka, take him. Definitely, I would say don't take him in a lineup where you have Godwin. Already best ball drafting? Well, drafters opened early. So if you want to get in on there with me on drafters, play along. Promo code SPLASH, $100 deposit match for their $20 tournament. The best ball championship main event is what they're calling this year, not the drafters million. But it is still $500K to first place. So a really nice prize pool there, actually, I think. Bigger prize pool than last year. So check out drafters. Again, they're helping me put on these shows. You're going to see a lot more content from me this year. Thanks to drafters primarily. So please show some love if you can. Check out drafters and use that promo code SPLASH on there. All right, Tennessee. If you guys have followed the streams at all over the course of the year, this year so far, love Cam Ward. Think he's your best fantasy QB in this draft. Thought that he was going to be a starter no matter what. Now he ended up being the number 1 overall pick, so we're locked in on that. He's better than Will Levis already, I would say. He's also the kind of guy that, to me, like a Jaden Daniels, like a CJ Stroud in previous years, I think will make the guys around him better. So taking Cam Ward with Ridley, I think is your one obvious target. They added a lot of guys, though. They added Chimere Dike, who I think I'm the only guy in the industry who talked about because he had a crazy RAS score, crazy 40 time. Didn't do shit at Florida, but got taken in the 4th round. So did Gunnar Helms. So did Alik Ayomanor, who I don't think is very good. To me, he looks a lot like his former Stanford, I guess, predecessor. I don't think they played together at the same time. He looks to me like Michael Wilson. Just looks like a big body dude, better athlete than Michael Wilson, but not really a good player. Tennessee just drafted good athletes. So those guys can hit. I don't think you trust one more than the other. But we'll talk about Tennessee more in a moment. So Jaylen Warren coming down in ADP. We get an 8-pick discount here. I could live with that. Tyrone Tracy still here as well, a little bit cheaper. Egbuka falling a little bit. We need RBs, so I'm going to go Jaylen Warren. Very much worried about Caleb Johnson. Warren's ADP can come down further. But if it comes down to Tyrone Tracy, Ramondre, or Warren, and there's really nobody else coming up at RB I like, I'm pretty okay taking Warren here. All right, back to the team by team view. Tennessee also added Khalil Mullings here at RB. He was not an RB that I held in much esteem overall. In fact, I don't even remember his numbers, so I'm going to look him up on this tab. Yeah, Mullings, 17% avoided tackle rate, not good. 12% stuff run rate, okay. Didn't get targeted at all in the pass game. That's not good for him. 6 runs a game versus an 8-man box, only a 0.1 EPA there, which is okay, but it's middle of the pack. 3.6 red zone rushes game for Khalil Mullings. Nothing I really think is that great for Mullings that I'm worried about, or, that I think is going to displace Tony Pollard or Tyjae Spears. I would much rather have one of Pollard or Spears than Mullings. But if you want to take a shot at the further down the depth chart RB, you can take Mullings. There you go. And then last but not least, Washington. So Washington does nothing I really like that much. Jalen Lane is okay. His numbers to me didn't stand out as anything special. But he had 0.19 EPA per target playing out the slot. 0.1 EPA on short throws, didn't qualify for anything else. I don't get what they're doing with Jalen Lane, to be honest. I think he just seems like a dude. Would rather they have Jalen Noel. Think that he would be more of a logical play there. But yeah, for me, for Washington, taking Jalen Lane, that doesn't do a lot for me, really. Would rather them have Trey Harris 10 times out of 10. Ja'Cory and different price tags, but it's just Jalen Lane is just like a dude who's probably not better than Luke McCaffrey even. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt was not on any of my radar, really. Let's put it in. There's no chance I'm going to spell this right. I thought I did. Krosky Merritt. No, I think I spelled that right. So he's just not in my data, it looks like. He had weird NCAA stuff, that's why. So he probably doesn't have a big enough sample size to qualify. So I can't even tell you about Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. I can't tell you about Jalen Lane, though, and say I'm not that impressed. That closes out Washington for me. I think Debo's the big addition there that matters for that team this year. The RB situation, I think, comes down again to Robinson and Eckler, which is what the beat reporters were saying for a while. They thought they would add one RB, but add him late. That's what they did. And I would think that Krosky Merritt probably replaces your third kind of tier, your McNichols touches, if even that. He might just be more the McNichols contingent value as RB3. Just don't think he's a player to matter too much. Played one game this year. There you go. So good to know. All right, Igbuka's still falling here. I mean, at this point, 20 picks after ADP. I think we could take Igbuka. Travis Etienne, I don't mind either, but his price should probably come down as well with being, I wouldn't say supplanted, but having another RB added to the room that could be dangerous for him. So we'll go Igbuka here with a discount as RB5 or as wide receiver 5. So Jaden Daniels, Aaron Jones, Jalen Warren, Malik Neighbors, Drake London, Terry McLaurin, Juwan Jennings, and Emeka Igbuka, and a tight end, George Kittle. I like the team here. When did Purdy go? Purdy went to the Knicks and Purdy guy. This team, the 2-hole, is doing real bad work. Team the 2-hole has Cortland Sutton, Ricky Pearsall, but then added in Knicks and Purdy. All right, well, the good news on drafters is you don't have to be in the same pods as people. That's a positive. Bad news on drafters is that there are still really bad drafters drafting on here, but hopefully that guy will figure it out. Pistons game is fun. Let's see. Let's see how my DraftKings lineups are doing. Did put in another batch for NBA today because I've been doing well enough on every NBA slate. I figured it was time. Schroeder is killing me. Schroeder with 8.5 points is not going to be good for me. Yeah, I'm getting killed now. Anunoby being bad too. Josh Hart being good helps. But yeah, I appreciate you guys hanging out here. You could be watching playoff basketball. Instead, you're watching me do, I think, what'll probably be the first stream draft of the post-NBA drafts or post-NFL draft season. So appreciate all you guys hanging out. Again, if you can, show some love, hit the like button, subscribe. Doing this in partnership with Drafters, but also did it because I know I owe you guys some streams. That just my heart was not there after dealing with all the nonsense over the last couple weeks. But we're back on the grind here. Haters be damned, including haters who are fucking underdog employees, and they shouldn't be talking shit. It's what I've been dealing with for the last couple weeks, guys. It's the worst of the worst, but it is what it is. Genius comes the cost, right? That's what we say. We got Travis Etienne here, and not to confuse this brother Trevor, who's now also draftable. But Travis Etienne will take it, pick 113. Where's Trevor going? Trevor Etienne free in a draft right now, pick 224. I probably wouldn't take him very much, but he is your contingent value to contingent value for Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard. Herbert goes here. Team the 2-hole, man. I don't know. If you're watching 2-hole, you got to not draft quite so many RBs. If you take Gibbs, you take Jacobs, it's probably enough for a little bit, would be my thought. But anyway, those are all my winners and losers. NFL draft is interesting this year. I really think the stuff I got right and the stuff I felt the best about was like the RB class being flat besides the top guys. I think I really got that right from the moment I looked at the data. And the industry, I thought, was really struggling to identify who the good RBs were. A lot of personal takes coming out from people about which RBs were the ones you wanted. And a lot of people got that very wrong. Like Devin Neal could work out in New Orleans, but there are a lot of people I think are sharp or touting him. It's the end of the world. People touted Raheem Sanders, and he went undrafted. I don't know. I think it was a tough year to prognosticate draft-wise, but I also think a lot of people got a lot of shit wrong this year. I did not play MLB today. I only play MLB when I'm doing a stream for Stochastic currently, because NBA takes up enough time. It's just what it is. MLB is like a lot of work to prep for me too. So if I'm getting paid for it, I'll do it. But otherwise, no. Chargers offense, more exciting now. They are. The issue though is like they should also keep getting better on defense. And I do think if that defense gets better, they're not going to press the offense in action as much. But you spend your top 2 picks on offensive assets. That is a little bit more willfulness towards the offense. And frankly, too, I mean, they took 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 8 picks, out of 9 picks. Half their class is offensive guys. So, I know Chargers are a team. I really thought they were going to like kind of pull it back in more. After last year, they started really trying to win the games with defense, win the ball, win the games with Dobbins. Then the back half of the year, they let Herbert sling it more. I would like to see the Herbert slinging it side occur more, but I think naturally, whenever you have the defense start to get better, the offense suffers. And teams like that, Harbaugh, Roman kind of teams. Chargers weapons are fun. Just wish they would use them more. I mean, I will say Harris going there is probably not great for McConkey's target earning, even though McConkey should be the best TP, target per out run guy on the team. I don't think it's great because like Harris is like a legit target earner as opposed to Quentin Johnson, who I don't think is that. And frankly, wasn't really that in college either. To the same levels. Harris, though, I think can be a game changer outside. But frankly, being able to go QJ and Harris and McConkey is like a pretty potent 3 wide receiver set, I think. We got Daniels, Jones, Warren, Etienne, so we need more RBs. We also need the second QB at some point, but QB really, they went a little QB crazy here. Keon Coleman, I don't mind. I mean, Swift, I guess we got to take him at face value at this point. So Swift at pick 128 with no meaningful capital added at RB. I think DeAndre Swift's probably too cheap. Probably no matter what site you're playing on. I agree Harris and McConkey don't overlap, but you add somebody in who's actually going to get targets. I presume that's what Harris will be. Like he's really good at getting targets at Ole Miss. I think that hurts the overall picture. I think it should mean that McConkey's ADP comes down a little bit, but you may feel differently. As of course, our guy Adam is deep in the bag for Lad as anybody out there. But guys, if you want to draft me on Drafters, you're going to get a lot of opportunities here, including more on DraftKings and Underdog as well. But please do show some love. Use promo code SPLASH on Drafters. $100 deposit match on there. And it's a great platform, really dedicated to you having a good experience drafting teams as opposed to, let's say, entirely only pushing you to pick'ems and other things here. That's what Drafters will do for you a little bit more, is give you opportunities to make good drafted teams and get shots at big payouts. I finished top 15 in the play, actually technically top 12 in playoff best ball last year. And the only entries I put in were the 3 I drafted on stream. I also, the year before last, finished top 100 on Drafters tournament. That made for a really good year in terms of profits. So you get on Drafters. It is a good tournament this year. I'll be 150 maxing this big tournament as well. It was one of my goals for the year. So get in on Drafters, play along with me here, or play with yourself as you see fit. It's a good site to be on. All right. We got Hollywood Brown, Garendo here, Quentin Johnston here. A lot of followers around. We got Penix as well. Need that second QB. Let's just get Penix. This is a tough pocket of QB. QB, I feel like in every room out there, I've seen it on some of the streams as well. it does feel like a little bit of a mad race to get QB in for people's teams now, whether that's good or bad. I would say it's probably bad. You should really hold out on QB as much as possible. Try to get it as a discount. But this year, people aren't doing that at all. They're really going up above ADP to get guys, even sometimes unstacked QBs. So we'll take our stack here with Penix and Drake London. I think we're not going to see the volume like the playoff game for Lad, but still very efficient. That's fair. Now, does the push-pull of it all? It's like you want your guys to be more efficient, but not at the expense of losing too much volume. But having Harrison, having Hampton in, really, it does muddy the Chargers picture a lot. Where'd Najee go? Najee went 63 here still. Don't think you should do that. And Hampton went 43. Something's got to give with those price tags. It's going to take a while for the markets to catch up on drafters and whatever underdog is going to put out with BBM. It'll take some time, but those guys are they can't both hit at those ADPs. Like, it would be really difficult for them to do that. I love Hampton, and I liked Najee when he was going to be the presumptive only back that the Chargers add in. But when you add in Hampton there, like, Hampton's a much better back than Najee in every way. Better pass catcher, better avoided tackle rate. Though Najee did miss a few more last year. Bashal Tootin here going 144. Fair price tag for him. A little bit of a drop. No, a little bit after ADP. Guess he must have been higher on underdog than he was on drafters. We still talking Chargers. Going from Edwards, Dobbins, Palmer, and QJ to Najee, Hampton, Harris, and QJ. It's a big upgrade. It's just, I think it's something that sometimes people miss with fantasy stuff. I'm not saying that Adam is, but in general, where it's like, if you just add in a bunch of guys who are all capable of producing, all capable of earning volume in the pass game, the run game, whatever the case may be, would say that for any of those situations, like, it does make the team better, it does make the offense better, but it does make it a little bit harder for you to do your job as a person trying to figure out who's going to get enough production for you fantasy-wise. So I think it makes it muddier in a way that's not great. And I also think, too, the fact that Najee's carrying like a vestigial price tag for a backfield that doesn't exist now of him being the lead guy. You don't have that. Like, for Hampton, you don't have him getting the run out of being a first-round pick for a team that just desperately needed any RB to come in and take the volume. He's now got competition. Even for Trey Harris, seems like Trey Harris came up a little bit here. He went in 112 in this room. Like, and I like Trey Harris, but like, when you have Ladd McConkey there, that's not great either. And you're adding, Gatson to a tight end. That could be a little bit thorny. I think everybody's probably a little bit overpriced right now, would be my thought. All right, we're on the clock here. Besides Quentin Johnston, who just will lurk around forever. We need more at wide receiver, need more at RB. I mean, I could live with taking Kyle Pitts here. Got our Atlanta stack. So Penix with Pitts, with Drake London. We got our Niners stack without the QB. We got Jaden Daniels with McLaurin here. Could add a third tight end later on from Washington. Okay with this build. Do we think the Cowboys are set at wide receiver, or are they in play for Allen / anyone better? You wouldn't want Allen because he would take away CeeDee Lamb's most efficient routes. Like, CeeDee Lamb, even though people would like, he can play out wide as well. He is a lot more efficient playing out of the slot, earns targets more out of the slot. I don't think you want to bring another slot. I don't know. They've been really reluctant to add payroll. So I don't like, they're acting like a baseball team that like doesn't make money, is trying to coast off profits. Like, they're acting like the Pirates. So the Cowboys are acting like, I don't think they spend enough money to get somebody else that matters in, even if there's somebody cut. So I think they're probably trotting out what they have. But maybe, I mean, if there's like a cut that makes sense, like there's a Javonte level equivalent at wide receiver or a Miles Sanders, I think they could do that. I wouldn't steam up Jalen Tolbert, but I think that's the most logical outcome right now. I just think the offense is going to be worse by a wide margin this year. Not a big believer in Schottenheimer. I think they might have less turnovers, less, kind of costly errors, but going to run the ball more in a Schottenheimer offense. Going to have more short throws in a Schottenheimer offense. Deep shots, I don't think will be there as much. It's not my favorite team. So ugly. Yeah, I mean, that's what the Cowboys are doing. I mean, they make enough money, it doesn't matter, I guess. So besides the fans who would like to see a winning team. Lamb was our biggest winner in the draft. I mean, he'll probably get whatever targets. He probably gets you 8 to 10 a game. I just don't think they're going to be the most fun targets to have. Schottenheimer's one of the guys to me I've been the most unimpressed by at various stops. And you hire an OC who's a tight end coach, and it just like, usually that would scream run dominant offense, not exciting, vertical offense like we're looking for fantasy. I think the Giants are better than them now, to be honest. But we got a pick coming up here. Guerendo still on the board. We do have our Niners bet. That wouldn't be the most illogical thing. Bunch of fallers at receiver around him. I mean, I don't know why Guerendo's falling here, to be honest. Take him at pick 161, and he's normally going in the 120s. Because they added Jordan James, I guess, is making Guerendo fall. I don't think that should be the reason why Guerendo would fall. Guerendo showed he could do stuff in games last year. And Jordan James is the 5th-round pick. So if Guerendo's falling in your rooms like that, 40-pick discount, I would take Guerendo. Does Mahomes finish top 5? I think he's more motivated than ever to do that. I'm not sold that's the case. I mean, the reports were, I think it was Matt Nagy said to the press at some point that they would like to get him to shoot more downfield, take more shots, play a little more offensively loose. But he doesn't want to have turnovers, doesn't want to make mistakes. So that's been a big part of the push-pull dynamic of him. I had thought, especially because the way the offense kind of ebbed and flowed when Bieniemy left, I thought it was more like they're coaching him to take less risks and to be a little more close to the vest. It seems like that's not the case. Seems like it's coming from his side. And that's one of the leaps I've mentioned before. And part of the reason I was not in on Mahomes last year is like QBs, as they get older, usually it's not the Tom Brady thing like he had in Tampa Bay, where it's like, I need to show that I can throw for 300 yards a game. It's usually the opposite, where it's like, I need to show that I can throw for as few yards as possible while getting the results we need to get in the game to get a win. I think that's where Mahomes has been the last couple of years. But with how bad they were last year in the Super Bowl, because they never really pushed that offense to the limit, he could do more this year. But top 5, he's got a better shot being top 10 than top 5. Shout out Mr. Poopy Butthole. Appreciate it. Spags is back. Yes, back working at this again. It's going to be a long summer, guys. Still got fucking 4 months of this shit. So strap in. But again, I will say sometimes you got to take a break, whether it's me on stream or you guys out there doing your own stuff. And for me on stream, it's like if nobody's paying me to do the streams, I can take time off and be okay with it. That's how I feel about it. Casey got Royals and Smith, 2 of my favorite rookies. All right, there you go. Look, I like Royals a lot. I just think, he needs pupless Rashee Rice. He needs suspension Rashee Rice for him to get where he needs to go. But maybe he gets both those outcomes. If he does, Jalen Royals, I think, he's a more athletic version of Rashee Rice, and he earns targets at a similar rate. Gets similarly bad competition. Royals played at Utah State. Rashee Rice, SMU. Neither of them saw the best the college defenses that they have to offer for sure. Let's see what Dorito's doing. Dorito on there. These guys are pounding some drafts here. 5th draft for CJM, 4th draft for Dorito. Like, I got in here about half an hour after the tournament launched. So I feel like these guys are grinding a little bit hard here early. Zach Ertz, tight end 3. I can live with it. Jalen Coker, by the way, and I was never a Coke head. Like some of the fans out there of Jalen Coker, I think he's got to come down so much. I think it's going to be hard for him to get on the field now with Tet, with Leggett, with Thielen as well. Really, to me, I think Carolina muddied things up a lot for Coker. But you should expect that, given the guy that was an undrafted free agent. Anybody out there that's touting guys that are undrafted free agents with no draft capital in a very obvious situation to add another receiver over the top, got to be a little more situationally aware than that. Coked out. There you go. I don't think Coker is bad. It's just people really had a weird bias for him. So not to some people in the industry out there. They're touting Coker like he was going to be wide receiver 1. Even though there's infinitely more draft capital dedicated to Xavier Leggett to get him where he needs to go, even though they just paid Thielen. But now you add on Tet on top of that, and Tet's a legit target earner outside. Your hope for Coker is that Thielen goes down and they play Coker out of the slot at this point. I don't know why they would. Wounded Geese in the 12 hole, just scooping up all the RBs with dedicated landing spots, it looks like. That's an approach for sure. I don't think Neal needs to go 160 though, to be honest. Devin Neal is one of those guys, like, I like him watching film, and I liked him early on, like watching the film stuff. Just doesn't miss enough tackles. Big body dude. Different look than Kendre and Kamara for sure. But if he starts coming up a lot, I don't think I'd buy the Devin Neal rise too much. Woody Marks rise, I definitely would not buy. Jaden Blue rise, you get me behind. All right. Got 5 RBs, 5 receivers. We need more here. I like Wicks in this spot still. Get a lot of guys coming in, but Wicks at 185. Your best target earner out of Green Bay last year. Certainly had some drops, had some tough situations, but target earning is target earning. Wicks will get a shot. And I think Wicks will probably, he won't get first crack because Golden's going to be in the mix. They spent the draft capital there, but he'll get the crack to be in the rotation a lot. And I think he and Dobbs are both better than Savion Williams as it is. Wicks, I think in particular, is better than Savion. I think Savion might be similarly good to Dobbs, but with less trust from Jordan Love. He was like Kamani Vidal, wish cast success, you could sound sharp. It's possible. It's possible. Taj Brooks rise. I don't see it. I think that Chase Brown has won pretty handily most of these situations. Like getting P. Ryan in when the juice has been squeezed for the most part, he doesn't have a whole lot left. I think that was good for Brown. I don't think Taj Brooks is appreciably better. Zach Moss still looming because he agreed to like a renegotiated deal with Cincinnati, and maybe he comes back from the neck thing and does something. Pat Bryant, interesting. I really think he's a hedge against Cortland Sutton, them not being able to reach a deal. I just don't see him being better than Troy Franklin. I know people are going to like roll their eyes at that because I was spearheading the Troy Franklin positive stuff last year. But like Troy Franklin scored a 50-yard TD in the playoffs. Mims showed what he could do with the short targets. Maybe not a ton of volume there. Bryant, I think at best can mix in there, but I don't know. I don't even think he's as good as Valet, but he could be, I guess. I think he's Sutton insurance would be my guess. Because they haven't reached a new deal with Sutton. Supposedly they're getting closer on terms or whatever. But I think he could do a lot of what Sutton does if they gave him the chance to run out to do it. I don't think he has a skill set of the other guys in that receiving room. Those are all moderately nice things about Savion Fluff. Savion's a guy. He's a guy in a receiver room that needs somebody to step up and be the guy. Chasing Brown again. There you go. I like Chase Brown. I think Chase Brown has been a guy he's really the only guy that people penalize for just uncertainty, I feel like, out of that early group of RBs. We had one of the best roles in football, part of a Cincinnati offense that clearly is dedicated to scoring a lot of points because the defense is going to help them out too much. Defense probably got a little bit better for Cincinnati, but not good enough to make up for how bad they were last year. If you compare Pat Bryant to Michael Thomas, it's better comps, I guess, than Troy Franklin got. But I personally don't see how he's better than Troy Franklin. But different guys. All right, we got picks coming up here. Still could use a little bit more at RB for sure. And I do think somebody in the chat said it before, Justice Hill surviving for Baltimore after being treated like your number 2 back all of last year. Nobody drafted him. He had more than enough spike weeks, I think, to be justifiable at pick 200. Getting him to pick 200 again, I'm cool going to Justice Hill here. You'd have another year of healthiness potentially for Keaton Mitchell recovering from his injury. Maybe that's your reason to not love Hill, but the lack of additions here, I think Justice Hill at RB6 feels okay to me. So our team so far, we got Jaden Daniels again, 2 drafters drafts down. Both of them have Jaden Daniels. Michael Penix at number 2. Aaron Jones, Jalen Warren, Travis Etienne, not Trevor, DeAndre Swift, Isaac Guerrero, and then Justice Hill. So I think an okay RB room. Feels like we need some more volume, though. The receiver, we've got Neighbors, London McLaurin, Juwan Jennings, Amika Agbuka, Dontavian Wicks. Top 4 receiver I feel really good about. Bottom of it, I think we need to get some more spike week potential. And tight end for a 3 tight end room, Kittle, Pitts, and Zach Ertz. I can live with that. Definitely some risk that this year Siddick gets in the mix more, but With what Ertz showed down the home stretch, I don't know why you would, frankly, send it in if you're a team that made the NFC title game and you did it with aged Zach Ertz being really trusted and being good with it. I think Ertz, unfortunately, is still very much in play this year. 320 bombs, a pick 20, pick 200. Sign me up for all the Hill. I liked Hill a lot last year. Hill was helpful for me on underdog, for sure. With a lot of teams I had, he was a viable RB6, RB7. Get no issue with him. Frankly, he went behind Blake Corum here and Shipley as well. And you could have questions about those guys with the RB rooms that they're in this year. If they are actually even are the contingent value, if they are the backup. I don't think we have those concerns for Justice Hill, that is. But, frankly, don't have those concerns for Marshawn Lloyd either. He's now your backup in Green Bay. And frankly, Philly added A.J. Dillon. It probably is still Shipley being the contingent value there. If A.J. Dillon starts getting some goal line work for Philly this year, though, that'd be classic. They probably need to get rid of the tush push for A.J. Dillon to actually get work. We got a pick coming up here. Again, could use more at RB. Definitely could use more at receiver, but there's frankly a lot at receiver still. Less so at RB. Washington guys. Really don't want to take Jalen Lane at all. A.D. Mitchell, I took Pearson in draft. I could do that. Amari Cooper, no home yet. I feel like he and Keenan Allen, to me, are guys I would just avoid taking at this time. Though I think Keenan Allen gets a landing spot at some point. Maybe not so sold on Amari Cooper. But we'll take A.D. Mitchell here as our wide receiver 7. I think might just be hitting a receiver the rest of the way. Again, guys, we're running out of steam here towards the end, but if you can, show some love. Hit the like button, subscribe. Again, going to be doing a lot of draft videos coming up. Thanks to our friends at Drafters. So show some love if you can. Go check out Drafters, of course. Use the promo code SPLASH on there. But do subscribe, hit the like button. Going to be doing the work here no matter what. It's always been the case for me here. There's always ebbs and flows, people being fucking annoying out there about my content. But ultimately, I get things right a lot more than I get things wrong. And I hopefully talk about the process enough. You can make your own decisions from there. And that's what I've always done here. That's what I'll do moving forward, regardless of the people that, people that want to tear you down. There's always going to be those people. I just didn't realize I was noteworthy enough for the amount of people who wanted to tear me down over the last few weeks. But it's what it is. And we got 2 more picks left. What do I need the most? Don't need tight end. Do need RB. I guess don't need RB, but would be nice to get RB. Nice to get one more receiver. Are there any guys that are like sneaky at this point? I mean, Jarquez Hunter should get drafted. Ty Johnson, not a bad click at this point. Jaleel McLaughlin, I think still an okay click. Where'd RJ Harvey go? Harvey went 94. That is so steep. There is no guarantee that RJ Harvey wins that backfield. He got good draft capital. Man, that is an immediate price jump up for Harvey. What was his ADP? 157 ADP, and this guy took him at 95. You got to pay the price tag, a new price tag for sure, for where he got drafted. That's so high for RJ Harvey. Make the cheap estimate bet late. Really just want to finish my last 2 picks. I feel like I've gotten every take I have about the draft out now, and now we can all sit in it and think about it more. It's really slowing down here now for the last 2 picks we got to make. I haven't eaten yet today. I'm hungry. Oh, assembled a planter though for the wife. So hopefully she'll come back with Luca and be delighted to see that there's one less thing to do around the house. All right, we got pick 224 here. mean, frankly, Lockett draftable. I think Sean Tucker is a guy I would like to mix in more RB7 kind of builds. One of Bucky, one of Rachaad White goes down. Sean Tucker is going to immediately be there. So I like him for a free click at this point. And again, like, don't think he's as quote unquote secure of a thing as Justice Hill. Was he a better click than Rashad Smith for KC? Probably, I think. Sean Tucker was good last year. Sean Tucker was one of those guys that people know, I think, that he was good, but the underlying numbers were pretty strong. Not Trey Tucker. Sean Tucker last year could have avoided more tackles, only 13% there. But 0.2 EPA per rush, 0.4 EPA per pass, limited volume. So certainly expect this to come down if he got more work. But he's got juice that Rachaad White doesn't. If, God forbid, he ever became competent in pass pro, he could actually eat that Rachaad White role. I still like taking Rachaad White because I think he's now too cheap. People are disappointed by him at ADP. And I didn't take him at his ADP last year at all. Got like one share of Rachaad White the entire spring/summer. And this year he's too cheap, but Tucker for free if you just want to get one more nice little bet in. Anything goes wrong for Tampa Bay, really just need one back to go down. Sean Tucker's in the mix. Tyler Shuck goes here. Got Wounded Geese in the 12 hole, going very rookie heavy with his guys. Really curious to see what happens with the Derek Carr situation for New Orleans. Because like I really think if you're Derek Carr and you were faking a shoulder injury because you were worried about a rookie coming in and taking your job, I just don't think Tyler Shuck would put the fear of God into me that I'd be like, oh man, like I got to fake a shoulder injury because I can't beat out this guy. I think he is just like Tyler Shuck to me looks like a camp arm more than anything else. Shout out Matthew for this kind chat. Cheers to Spags and the Squirt Squad. Great way to start the day. I appreciate you guys being here. Of course, the diehard members of the Squirt Squad, the guys that support and ride or die no matter what. I appreciate you guys more than you know. Your patience as I have ebbs and flows here is it's going to happen when you do this content every day for fucking 3 years. One more click here. Really think wide receiver is it. This is awful, though. Take a shot at Restrepo. I don't really like Restrepo at this point. Clearly, the athletic profile not being there isn't good, but it does seem a little bit like a better version of Bo Nix and Troy Franklin last year if they signed Restrepo immediately as an undrafted free agent. He's crazy slow, but he was a good target owner at Miami. So for free in the 20th round, I think an okay click. Probably a little bit better if I had Cam Ward. But our final team here, a 2-7-8-3. We got Jaden Daniels and Michael Penix at QB. At RB, we have Aaron Jones, Jalen Warren, Travis Etienne, DeAndre Swift, Isaac Orendo, Justice Hill, Sean Tucker. Does feel a little bit more vulnerable in a total points format on drafters where you'd go the zero RB room. It's kind of a classic zero RB room. And frankly, not a great capital zero RB room. I think that's my one flaw here is that it took a little bit too much from other premium positions, onesies in particular, and got less at RB as a result. But a receiver, I like the room, especially the top four with Neighbors, London, McLaurin, Juwan Jennings. Those are four guys I feel really strongly about this year with their situations, how they played last year, all that. Egbuka, 20 picks after ADP. I could do that for sure. Wicks getting less appreciated here because of the Green Bay guys coming in, but pick 185, I could live with that. AD Mitchell for cheap at pick 210. Restrepo for free. I could live with that. Tight end room is probably the best part of the team with besides QB. Kittle, Pitts, Ertz, stacked up, looking good. That's the team. Appreciate the debut stream. Excited for a fun year. Hopefully it will be a fun year, guys. That's the goal. But thanks for hanging out, guys. Again, show all your love you possibly can to our friends at Drafters. Promo code SPLASH on there, $100 deposit match. It's linked in the description, but go check them out. Their tournament is open right now, so if you don't want to wait for your best ball manias or whatever DraftKings is going to launch, you can hop in right now in Drafters. And look, they are a company that's made people a lot of money here because you just have less sharp competition, less competition overall, and it's total points format. So you lose the luck component, no pods, no bullshit like that goes on, which I think is perfectly fine. But if you want to just get your best teams be your best teams, you can do that a little bit more at Drafters. So check them out. You can use that promo code SPLASH for $100 deposit match on Drafters. We'll be drafting there all year long. Stochastic unabated too. If you want to support the show, you can do that. Of course, join the Discord. $5 to join here. If you're a channel member, just click the link down below in the description. You get added automatically to the Discord. It's a brand new Discord as well. So if you haven't gotten in there before for whatever reason, you should be able to get in there now. And if you can't, let me know and we'll figure it out. And of course, gamble responsibly, guys, even though it's always money time here. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. Hit the like button before you go if you can. Again, we'll be doing new drafts here with some more regularity coming up for the next couple weeks. Probably not quite daily, but almost daily, I think is what we're going to be looking at. So come by, do it here. I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days and good luck and enjoy draft season, guys. Bye-bye.